Enjoy the taste of summer no matter what the weather when you head to Maverick for some Mountain Dew Baja Blast. You'll love the legendary, refreshing tropical lime flavor. And to make the sweetness last longer, Maverick now has it in 1-liter bottles. For a limited time, get 2 for $5. Single purchase, regular price. Plus, Adventure Club members get 25 bonus trail points with purchase. So blast into Maverick today and enjoy that unmistakable Baja flavor. Maverick. Adventure's first stop.
Exciting news, Wine Coven! As you know, we are doing a live show at the Fitzgerald Theater in St. Paul on Saturday, September 21st. But if you aren't local, we have even more exciting news for you.
Yes, we do. For the first time in Wine and Crime history, we will be live streaming the show directly from the theater to give all of you who can't attend in person a true live show experience.
It's like Wine and Crime pay-per-view fight night, baby.
Yeah, but fortunately it's not like Smell-O-Vision.
No. And we won't actually be fighting.
Well, you never know. You know us.
Yeah, that's true.
This will be a wild and witchy time with a feral girl theme, and we're working on some masterful Hot Topic inspired costumes.
Oh my god, I'm so excited about my costume.
But actually very inspired by the craft. We encourage you to dress up too. Lots of eyeliner.
Yep. Whether you're in person or at home, please dress up and share your photos on the social medias. I will tell you, in-person tickets are selling fast, so don't miss your chance to come be with us in person at the Fitz. And you can head to wineandcrimepodcast.com for links to both in-person tickets and live stream tickets. And your live stream purchase also comes with like infinite replays, so you can experience the joy over and over again, or simply watch it in a time zone that is reasonable for you if you're, say, across the pond.
We cannot wait to be back at the Fitzgerald and see all of you on September 21st.
Woo! Wine and Crime contains graphic and explicit content which may not be suitable for some listeners. Listener discretion is advised.
You are listening to Wine and Crime, the podcast where two friends chug wine, chat true crime, and unleash their worst Minnesotan accents.
Yeah, and it's state fair time, so those accents are out.
Oh, deep fried.
As we're recording this, it's state fair time. I think it'll be over by the time you hear this, but still.
I want to try the deep fried ranch.
I do and I don't. I'm scared it's going to just be like a ranch squeezed funnel cake, but I've been assured that it's not like that. But
I've seen it.
Apprehensive.
I've seen it on Instagram. It's like a little wonton, and I think the ranch is kind of whipped with some like cream cheese.
Okay. All right.
And then you can dip it in ranch or like hot honey.
Hot honey I could handle.
I
don't think I could dip deep fried ranch in more ranch.
Well, if you want to be a little bitch about it.
I am going to be a little bitch about it. Because that's who I am. I'm Amanda, and I'm a little bitch about ranch.
I'm a little ranch bitch.
I'm a little ranch bitch.
Something unique about me is I am a fucking bitch about ranch.
I'm super cool, and ranch is really popular, so I don't like it.
I'm a ranch slut.
That makes it very unique about me.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It's like how I don't have my ears pierced. I'm Lucy.
Yeah, you are, honey. And you are also extremely unique. Look how much my messy butt is bobbing when I move.
I can't stop looking at it. It looks like a lava lamp.
It's like, it does kind of look like a lava lamp or one of those snakes that like mesmerizes its prey.
King Cobra.
King Cobra. There it is.
Who are you?
I'm Amanda, and I'm a bitch about ranch. I already said that.
Oh, okay.
Keep up.
Sorry. I was hypnotized by her hair.
It's true. It's really flopping.
She's flopping.
She flopping.
Let's get down to business.
To defeat the Huns.
The topic of today's episode is a pick by Amanda.
Yep.
This was your idea.
This is my fault.
This is your fault.
Mm-hmm.
And it's shockingly dark.
Yeah.
The topic is unconventional methods.
Yeah, and I want to apply that to both either or, the murder itself or the disposal.
Yes.
My case deals in disposal. Unconventional disposal.
So I have 2 shorter cases to share with you and no background or psych.
Ooh, we're raw dogging it.
We are raw dogging. Lube up, baby.
Lube up, y'all. Well, speaking of lubing up,
Yeah.
should we get to my wine crime pairing?
I would love to.
I found the most amazing website that I will be obsessed with until I take my last breath. It's called Terroirizer, like Terrorizer, but terroir.
I love that.
Terroirizer.wine. And I was looking around for unconventional wines to go with today's episode.
Oh.
And I found one called L'Absurde Génie de Fleurs. This is a Languedoc-Roussillon, France region wine. It's a Cinsault from 2022. The label is gorgeous. It literally looks like slightly watered down blood.
Oh.
It has an unconventional top, and I think I understand why it has this top as I learned a little bit more about this wine. It has like a beer cap topper, not a cork or a twist.
Yeah, like it's carbonated.
Exactly. And they did some more natural fermentation and it sounds like in-bottle fermentation, which again, an unconventional method to give this a little bit more of an effervescent. So it's a red. It's
like
a Cinsault.
kombucha.
Kind of like that. Yep. They describe it as a playful dance of vibrant acidity and freshness to the backbeat of dark, ripe fruit.
I would drink this.
Yup. So the unconventional method with which they produced this wine, they took Cinsault from organic vineyards. A third of the grapes went to direct press, a third of whole bunches, and a third destemmed grapes went into a short maceration. So something a little bit less intense to like preserve a little bit more of that natural grape flavor. And then they used native yeast fermentation in stainless steel to really preserve the Cinsault grape flavor profile. It's not aged in oak or anything. You're getting like full blown this grape all over your mouth. And then it was bottled unfined and unfiltered with no sulfur addition. And I believe that is to continue some of that process in the bottle. So you're getting a little bit of that carbonation.
Dang.
Which sounds super, super cool.
This is like exciting.
I know. It's really cool. And the winemakers, they're French winemakers who started off actually kind of similarly to one of the wineries we recommended for Scranton Crimes, where they were sourcing organic grapes from other vineyards because they didn't have their own vineyard yet. And then as their winemaking grew, they were able to get their own land and acquire hectares of their own vines and start growing their own shit.
Yeah. It's a community.
And they have kind of a Fleetwood Mac vibe because they were together, the founders of this, but they split up in 2019. But they still, they stayed friends and they were still so passionate about winemaking. They kept their dream alive and kept making their wine and then moved in. They were doing it in people's garages. This is very tech startup, but for wine. And then moved into a larger cellar in 2023. So they're still kind of young. We really want to support what they're doing. You can order online from terroirizer.wine. They do ship, and they have this really cool approach to not only life, but winemaking. And the Languedoc region is so spectacular. Wine coming from this area is gonna knock you right out of the park, but they have such a cool portfolio of really interesting and exciting looking wines. Some that lean a little bit more on the traditional, but then some like this one that take a very traditional grape but put their own spin on it, which is how they're producing it.
They have a whole section of orange wines too.
Yeah, they have a lot of cool stuff. They also have a wine club that you can follow. You can follow them on Instagram. Their website is beautiful. They have a ton of cool information on there, and you can shop at terroirizer.wine. I unfortunately did not get this in time, so I'm puffing the Penji, drinking some water, but I wanted to give this a 10 out of 10 recommendation, and this wine should arrive to me because I did order it in the next week or so. So I will circle back and let you know how fucking awesome it was.
You should save it for when I come up for our live show.
That's a really good idea.
Because I want to try it.
I will. I'll save it. That's perfect. Yay!
Okay.
Are you puffing on or sipping on anything today?
Yeah. Had a big puff right before we started, so the intro was a little loose.
Might get weird in here, y'all.
Might get weird in here.
Might get weird.
But yeah, it's 1 p.m. I'm hydrating.
Yeah, we're old now. So if we're really going to drink, we have to record at 4 p.m. so we don't die. And today's my cat's birthday, and I have a birthday party to throw for her this evening. So I can't be total drunk mom on the prowl. I gotta show up demure, mindful, and cutesy for Beans today.
It is her first birthday. You got to be a little sensitive.
You do. So we're taking it very seriously. Bill is upstairs prepping while mother works, and then I will be helping prep.
Tell him what you got her for a little cake.
Bill got up early and went to Costco and got an orange creamsicle cake because she's a little orange creamsicle kitten. And I'm so excited to taste it, and I'm going to let her have a little bit of cream.
And you're going to make a mixed bean salad for the humans.
I'm going to make a mixed bean salad. We're grilling.
I fucking love beans.
I do too.
We're the cat and the food.
I know. I mean, it's two of my favorite things, beans and beans. It's a big day, people.
It's a big bean day.
It's a big fucking day for beans. So should we take a quick break to hear a word from our sponsors and then get into the absolutely vile, horrific nonsense that we're about to discuss?
I think we should.
Let's do it.
It's the end of summer. I feel like there are just events happening all over the place. And outfits are changing, seasons are changing. But one thing that I really appreciate about my Honey Love bras, shapewear, leggings, goes with everything, goes under anything. It's amazing. I'm wearing my Honey Love bra right now. You can't even tell that my boobs are two-way different sizes.
For real.
They're nice and smooth. It's extremely comfortable. I could fall asleep in this. It's ridiculous.
I love it.
So if you're on the hunt for a bra that feels good, for super soft, smoothing leggings, for some really comfortable shapewear, you got to check out Honey Love. For a limited time only, you can get Honey Love on sale. Get 20% off your entire order with our exclusive link, honeylove.com/wine. Support this show and check them out at honeylove.com/wine.
I am so happy to have all of my Honey Love products as I enter into busy wedding season. I just did a wedding a couple weeks ago in 98-degree full sun heat. If I hadn't had my superpower short, my thighs would have fused together. They saved my life. So join me. Embrace your summer of yes with Honey Love's best-selling superpower short. This item smooths, it shapes, it lifts. It's like a bra for your butt. It gives you a flawless silhouette under any outfit and protects you from chub rub, which I am a serious victim of. Honey Love's best-selling superpower short is our go-to for that effortless summer-ready look. It has targeted compression technology that distinguishes between areas where you want more support and areas where you need less compression so you can enjoy that wedding food. Their Signature X targets and sculpts your midsection without squeezing your natural curves. It's designed to work with your body and not against it. We have also all been there, the struggle to take off a tight piece of shapewear with a bathroom line down the block.
But you need a good friend to tug it off your body sometimes.
Well, now your good friend is just built in because the Superpower Short has a 100% cotton gusset so you can skip the extra undies. Plus, it has a convenient opening in the panty area for super easy bathroom time. No costume change required. And it doesn't stop there because they have so much more than sculptwear. Incredibly comfortable bodysuits, bras like Lucy's wearing right now, tanks, leggings. Y'all, Honey Love is just as easy to put on as it is to take off. Shapewear shouldn't be hard. Their products make you look good and feel good, whether it's for a wedding, event, or an everyday boost of confidence. Honey Love is the perfect plus one.
Treat yourself to the best bras and shapewear on the market and save 20% at honeylove.com/wine. Use our exclusive link to get 20% off, honeylove.com/wine. After you purchase, they'll ask where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Say yes to every adventure with Honey Love.
If you're like me and you're an ADHD girly and you sign up for stuff to get that free magazine subscription or see that show with a free trial and then you forget you did it, and now you have all these subscriptions that you didn't remember even signing up for and you need help. Well, you need Rocket Money. If you can't name every single subscription that you have, like me, you're not alone. Over 74% of people have subscriptions that they've forgotten about. So, it's a big club. With Rocket Money, I don't have to remember every subscription or worry about forgetting any because I can see them all laid out right in front of me and have, my little personal butler take care of it.
Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. See all of your subscriptions in one gorgeous dashboard place and know exactly where your money is going. For anything that you don't want anymore, Rocket Money can help you cancel it with just a few taps. Rocket Money's dashboard gives you a clear view of your expenses across all your accounts. I find this so extraordinarily helpful.
It's miraculous.
You can easily create a personalized budget with custom categories to keep all of your spending on track. You can see your monthly spending trends in each category to know exactly where your money's going. Like last month, I was like, I spent a lot on gas. Mm-hmm. What was up with that?
What was I doing? Why was I driving so much?
I was driving way too much. But that's the kind of categories that it just automatically comes with. Very, very helpful. You can get alerts if bills increase in price. Also, if there's unusual spending activity or if you're close to going over your budget, Rocket Money is the adult in the room that we all need. Mm-hmm. Their new goals feature automatically saves money for you without you having to think about it. Whether your goal is to pay off credit card debt, like student loans, put away money for a house, or just build your savings because that's what adults are supposed to do, Rocket Money makes it easy. Rocket Money will even try to negotiate lower bills for you, sometimes by up to 20%. They automatically scan your bills to find opportunities to save, and then you ask them to negotiate for you, and they will deal with customer service. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's features.
So stop wasting money on things you don't use. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions by going to rocketmoney.com/gals. That's rocketmoney.com/gals. One more time, rocketmoney.com/gals.
Well, we're back.
We're back. Woo!
Oh, God. Well, I have two, like I said, short dives for us this week. And as you mentioned, the unconventional umbrella could be about cause of death and also disposal.
Yep. Do you have disposal?
I got one of each, baby.
Oh, shit. Okay. I'm lighting my candle. I'm cozying in.
Okay. So my first one, this is the subject of an original, an OG Forensic Files episode. I think it's the first episode.
Oh my God.
Or it's at least in the first season. Might be the fourth episode.
Deep cut.
And we have covered this person before. I searched our Google Drive. Mm-hmm. For some reason, the victim was, this case was mentioned fairly briefly in our poisoning episode.
Okay.
But it's got nothing to do with poisoning, so I don't know why we were talking about it. But
that was a long time ago. God only knows.
That was our episode 4. So
we were different people then.
Deep cuts all the way across.
I love it.
Okay, so Hella Crafts, nay Nielsen, Hella Nielsen.
Hella?
Hella.
Oh.
H-E-L-L-E, Hella.
I love that name.
Well, she's Danish. She was an only child born in Denmark. On July 7th, 1947, she was a Cancer. Okay. She grew up in a small village in the northern part of the country. Quaint, beautiful, adorable. During her teen years, she learned French and English and could also understand German, Norwegian, and Swedish. So she kind of knew 6 languages.
Mm-hmm. Good for her.
Mm-hmm. She attended college in England and later worked as an au pair in France. She's living
her best life.
Mm-hmm. While living in France, she also worked after she was an au pair and still living in France, she worked as a flight attendant with Capital Airways. And later, when she heard that Pan Am was looking for flight attendants in Copenhagen, she applied for that job because if you're a flight attendant in like the 60s, you want to work for Pan Am. Mm-hmm. That also kind of gives you an idea of how pretty Hella was because like Pan Am stewardesses.
There was definitely pretty privilege in the flight attendant game for a long time.
Especially with Pan Am. That was like their shtick.
There still is, like, we flew, what was it, Emirates all those years ago? And, like, every person on that plane on staff, a model. Stunning. I was shook. I was like...
Just red lips, perfect nails, just like a beautiful hair done.
Oh. They all looked runway ready, so when Scott spilled an entire glass of red wine all over himself when the cart went by, it was, like, extra embarrassing because we were like rode hard, put away wet.
We were like 30 minutes into a 10-hour flight.
Oh, my God. But it was not our first leg, so we'd, like, already seen some shit. And then this happened, and these beautiful, angelic flight attendants so lovingly brought napkins and wet wipes and helped us out, but it was a moment. It was a moment.
Didn't he, like, kind of scream when he did it, too?
He shocked himself. He was shocked at what he had done. It wasn't very funny for Scott, but it was extremely funny for us.
It was a whole full glass of Merlot.
I don't think he'd even taken a sip of it. I feel like he somehow shook himself as he was lifting the cup to his mouth.
Yeah. And it was no one else's fault. It's not like the person in front of him put their seat back or something. It was
I was in the middle. I was right there.
Uh-huh.
There was no crime scene.
There was a body.
If you had told me he just decided last minute, like listened to an intrusive thought, decided to just pour it on himself to see what would happen, I'd believe you. Like, that's how out of the blue this was. It made no sense.
Oh my God. Well, you were in the middle. I was on the other side, so it affected me not at all. I could just kind of laugh.
Yep.
On my window seat.
I don't even think I got any spilled on me. He somehow maintained it all in his lap, so... Victimless crime.
He threw up right when we got off that flight too, remember?
Yeah, it was a long day.
Anyway, that was the story of our 45-hour cross-global journey.
Yeah.
Okay.
Seriously.
So, Hella, Pan Am, Copenhagen. She was one of 8 candidates selected from 200 applicants.
Damn.
And so she got to like the final, like she made it. And they flew her to Miami for her training courses. But yes, she got the golden ticket. Mm-hmm. While she was there, she stayed in a small motel near the airport. Makes sense. On May 24th, 1969, while waiting for a flight, she met Richard Crafts, who was 31 years old and who would be her future husband. So she was
we like him?
No.
Okay, never meet a man.
Never. Richard was born in New York City on December 20th, 1937. He's a Sagittarius, so that makes him 10 years her senior. Growing up, he attended private school, but didn't exactly excel. He went to college for a little bit, but soon dropped out and joined the Marines in 1956. There, he gravitated toward aviation and became quite proficient at flying helicopters. He trained on a fixed right-wing aircraft. Do not ask me what that means.
Sure won't.
And quickly became certified as a pilot in the late 1950s.
Cool. All right.
Throughout his time in the Marines, he had many assignments in Southeast Asia, and he didn't return to the U.S. until 1966. So he's still a pilot. And as such, a trained pilot, he had a hard time finding a job until he landed a job with Eastern, which at that time was one of America's largest and busiest airlines.
Okay.
So obviously, Eastern and Pan Am both flew out of the Miami airport. Although his job kept him busy, he still had a good social life. He was very outgoing. He had a lot of friends. And when he met Hella, he was already engaged to someone else.
Oh, what a dog.
However, that didn't stop his and Hella's relationship from blossoming.
Uh-oh.
So yeah, we don't like Richard. They had an on-again, off-again relationship for many years. I don't think Richard ever married the other person. And so Hella and Richard on and off for a long time. They fought quite a lot. They had kind of a volatile relationship, but they always like wound up together in the end. In 1975, Hella fell pregnant with Richard's child. And in November of that year, they got married in New Hampshire.
Okay.
The following year, 1976, the family bought a one-level ranch home in Newtown, Connecticut. Hella had their first child, and over the next couple of years, they had a couple more kids. They had 3 kids.
Damn.
Their combined income exceeded $125,000 a year, so they were making really good money.
Yeah, they were killing it.
This put them at the top 5% of wage earners in America in the 1980s.
Damn.
So they're both still working for airlines, making a lot of money. Richard, as was their family dynamic, was the one who handled most of the finances, which enabled him to spend a lot of their money on his passion, which were firearms.
Oh, God.
This isn't great.
Nope.
But unfortunately, there was more wrong things in the marriage than just Richard's hard-on for guns.
For guns. Also, the hard-on for guns, replace guns with anything that is expensive. And there's like the reason why getting married doesn't mean you automatically have to combine finances. I know this was a different time, but like I would be so divorced if Bill knew the dumb shit that I spent my money on. Like I have to keep that private.
I mean, you meet as adults. You're 2 adults who have had their own set of spending habits their entire lives.
And been paying their own bills their entire lives. In our circumstance, you and Corey kind of combined things because you met a long time ago.
Yeah, we met when I was 20 and we like did a lot of things together.
That makes sense.
That is, I didn't close my own personal checking account until like a couple years ago. Just because we had so many weird little account. I don't know how we ended up with so many fucking bank accounts, but
it just gets to be annoying at that point.
It does.
But yeah, Bill and I just keep all that shit separate. We're like, it's working. If it stops working, we'll circle back and talk to each other about it. But like,
well, I also know some like married couples who like one of them is really fucking bad with like credit and the other one can't stand being in debt. Like if it's $10 in debt, they're like, absolutely not.
That's my marriage.
And the other one, not that great with money.
In a nutshell. So yeah, I mean, I don't think let me just say there was no resistance to me being like, let's not combine finances. And Bill like wiped sweat off of his forehead. He'd seen all the weird shit in my apartment. It was like, yeah, let's
strapped
not.
to your sinking ship.
Let's not. Anyway, just,
separate accounts, separate credit.
You don't have, just because you're married doesn't mean you have to do that. And you can always go the way of let's open a checking account that's combined for bills that we always like every paycheck you put money in there and then you just have the household bills come out of the account. That's totally fine. I feel like we've been in true crime so long that it always freaks me out when any one member of a household is in complete control of the finances. It just makes me very uncomfortable because we've heard too many horror stories of specifically women not having access to any of their household fucking income. And Hell is a working gal. She's earning that money.
They're both making really good money on their own.
That's her fucking money.
That's her fucking money, and he's spending a lot of it on guns.
Uncool.
And the other things. So, like I said, and especially when it's like guns, I feel like that's just a red flag.
How many do you need?
It's just a red flag for like other shit, though.
Yeah.
So,
right? It kind of freaks me out.
At least in Richard's case, he would leave for days at a time and not tell Hella, A, that he was leaving, or B, where he was going, or like C, when he would be home. He would just like go. But I mean,
was she aware of his wife, though? She might not have asked questions if she knew that.
Like the woman he was engaged to before?
Yeah. I guess not married. They were engaged, but like.
They didn't get married.
Okay.
But I think because they both worked for airlines, they were very much in and out of the house. Like,
okay.
People who work for airlines, they're like gone a lot.
Your job is literally travel. So.
Yeah.
I could see her not really questioning it.
I don't think she wasn't questioning it. I think it was just like, I'm saying it this way, but also keep in mind the context of their careers. Not great that he didn't tell her like when he was leaving or where he was going, though.
No.
He, in addition to the financial abuse that we have already assumed, he would also physically abuse her. And he would spend money on whatever he wanted, including the guns, while he made Hella pay for all the household expenses.
Fuck that.
So he was making his own money to spend on whatever the fuck, all his toys. And he's like, oh, you cover the bills, though.
All his murder toys.
Yeah. We'll get to the murder toys.
Great.
In 1982, despite his responsibilities with the airline and his family, Richard decided to become an auxiliary police officer in Newtown. And I guess that's like a volunteer cop, which like should not be a thing.
It's very Dwight Schrute.
Yes, totally. So he wasn't even being paid for this time that he was spending like volunteering for the police, but he took it really seriously. Another fucking red flag.
Uh-huh. Hate it.
Yeah. So 4 years later, in 1986, he was hired as a real police officer in the nearby town of Southbury, Connecticut. Despite the fact that his new hourly wage there was well below what he was paid as a pilot, Richard performed his tasks with a strange enthusiasm, which is not great for a cop. He even bought a 1985 Crown Vic, the same car that the Connecticut State Police used.
Before he was hired as a cop?
Probably.
Or after, just so he'd have this car both when he was at work and at home?
Well, he was hired as a real cop in 86, and this was an 85 Ford Crown Vic model.
Okay.
So probably when he got hired as a real cop. But he used his own money to deck it out with radios, antenna, police lights, and a siren.
Yuck.
Yeah. So he was like playing cop while also being an actual cop and like getting super jollies out of it.
Hate it.
Meanwhile, throughout Richard and Hella's marriage, Richard continued to see other women, which we could have predicted considering the fact that he was engaged when he met Hella. So
Once
Hella,
a cheater, always a cheater in some of these cases.
You lose them how you get them. Hella was aware of this, but she didn't leave him. I kind of got the feeling that she was just like, I got my kids and we have plenty of money and you're gone most of the time anyway. So like,
listen, there's always a million reasons not to leave. We don't, no judgment from us.
I think she took it for a while. However, in the summer of 1986, after confronting him about a bunch of long-distance phone calls with the suspected lover.
Yeah, while she's paying the household bills, which would include the fucking phone.
Right.
I'd be so livid.
I think that's just like tipped her over the edge.
Yeah.
So Hella decided to retain a divorce attorney, and then she also hired a private detective, a guy named Keith Morrison Mayo, a former Connecticut cop, to gather evidence against Richard.
Good for her.
On November 19th, 1986, so she confronted him in the summer. She hired a private detective and retained an attorney. And now this is November of the same year.
Okay. She's been busy.
Shortly before Thanksgiving, I will point out. At the age of 39, Hella disappeared. That morning, the family had plans to drive to Richard's sister's house in nearby Westport. However, when they got there, Hella was not with them. And Richard just like gave some lame excuse of where she was. And like no one heard from Hella after that visit.
What the fuck? Okay.
Her friends immediately suspected her husband because his answers about his wife's whereabouts were like super evasive.
And did they know that they were potentially separating?
Yeah, I think so, because Hella had reportedly told her friends, quote, "If anything happens to me, don't think it was an accident."
Okay. Wow. Honestly, if a friend comes to you and says something like that, help get them out right the fuck now. That's like one of the most terrifying things you could ever hear from someone you love.
Especially with 3 young kids.
Three young kids.
Her kids were like 8, 10, and 12 or something.
If I go missing or if something happens to me, don't suspect it was an accident. Girl, you're moving in today.
At least get the kids somewhere safe.
Yes, with the kids.
Yeah.
You're moving in.
You're moving in. So Richard's excuses for where Hella was were all over the place. He had told a neighbor that Hella made a trip to either Germany or Denmark and would be returning soon. He also, to someone else, said she was in the Canary Islands with a friend. And he told other people that he had no clue where she had gone. To their au pair, he said that she had gone to Germany to attend to her sick mother.
Okay.
So these are four different stories.
Yep.
So being a good friend, Hella's friends obtained Hella's mother's phone number. And Hella's mom seemed perfectly healthy when she called and told the friend that she didn't expect to see her daughter until April.
Okay. I'm glad that they didn't take what he said at face value.
No, the friends were like, you did something to Hella. On December 1st, 1986, so this was just a couple weeks after her disappearance, Keith Mayo, the private investigator, called the Newtown Police Department to report Hella missing because no one had fucking done that yet. Richard had not reported her missing.
And it's been what, like weeks at this point?
Like 2.5 weeks.
What the fuck? Okay, well,
Like 2 weeks.
that screams guilt.
But the cops didn't want to believe that their colleague was responsible for something like this, thin blue lines. They didn't investigate,
Of course not.
saying that they were sure she would return and adult women can go wherever they want.
Oh, okay. We're feminists.
Yes. Eventually, investigator Mayo had to get the state prosecutor involved because the local cops weren't doing anything.
No, they're protecting their own.
And the state prosecutor got the Connecticut State Police involved.
Okay.
Finally, on December 26th, this is over a month after she disappeared, while Richard was in Florida with his kids, again, aged 8, 10, and 12, state troopers searched the Crafts' home and found receipts, both literal and figurative.
Receipts, timelines,
Text
screenshots,
messages.
text messages.
Yes, found all of those.
Every time I hear the word receipts, I hear that like boom
Timeline.
sound in
Yeah.
the background and then
Totally.
timelines. Boom. Thank you, Bravo, for that
Shakespearean
like
moment.
stim that I have now because of you, you bitch.
So although Richard had claimed not to have left his house on November 19th, which was the day that she disappeared, his credit card records and receipts showed that he bought new bedding.
Okay.
You know how I am about the comforter. A chest freezer, like a drop freezer,
Yep.
and a chainsaw, and had rented a motherfucking wood chipper
You are fucking kidding me.
in the days before her disappearance.
Is this the inspo for Fargo?
Sure is.
Oh, no.
Yeah. The wood chipper was an Asplund Badger Brush Bandit 100 model. I do have a photo, which will be on the blog.
I feel like your dad is listening going, oh, that's a great wood chipper. Just like quietly to himself.
Oh, lucky.
Oh, wow. What a score.
It's like a really intense model for someone
It's
doing
huge.
non-commercial work.
That's it's a toe behind. That's massive.
Yes, it's big.
Okay.
There were also pieces of carpet missing from the house, like just chunks of carpet cut out.
Cut out. Okay. Okay.
And they also found a small blood stain on the side of the mattress. At some point around this time, Hella's car was also found in the Pan Am employee parking lot at JFK Airport.
Uh-oh. But she wasn't at work.
Oh, no. No one had seen her in over a month.
Yeah.
Eventually, a snowplow driver named Joseph Hine came forward and said that he had seen Richard using a wood chipper on the night of November 18th near the shore of Lake Zoar
He blasted her into the lake?
during a severe snowstorm. So the
Oh my God.
the snowplow driver is driving. It's probably like midnight or 1. It's at night in the middle of a blizzard, and it's December or it's November, so like the lake is frozen.
Yup. Oh God.
Maybe the lake wasn't frozen, but it's pretty damn near frozen.
Yeah.
So the plow driver was like, "That's fucking weird." And then when like somehow the plow driver heard about like the police raiding the home, And so the plow driver was like, yeah, I saw something really weird that night.
Oh, God.
So with this new information, police descended on the lake and began to search for clues. Without a body as evidence, the forensic investigation was led by Dr. Henry Lee of Forensic Files fame.
Dr. Lee.
They found a ton of little pieces of metal along with less than 3 ounces of human remains, including a tooth that had a unique dental work, like a crown on it.
Uh-huh.
A toenail covered in pink nail polish. Bone chips. 2,660 bleached blonde human hairs. Fingernails. And type O blood, which was the same type as Hella's.
Oh, my God.
Just strewn around.
No, I'm going to throw up. Oh, my God.
Divers also found the chainsaw that was purchased by Richard, even though he tried to sand off the serial number. But they have ways to revive those serial numbers.
1,000%.
Oh, so so they knew the chainsaw was his, and they also found traces of blonde hairs stuck to the chainsaw, even though he threw it in the lake.
Yeah, because he's an idiot. He didn't bother to clean it off.
He just thought that dumping it in the lake, he thought they would never find it. And if they did, it wouldn't have a serial number and blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. He's a dumbass.
And a piece of shit.
Mm-hmm. Police theorized that in their bedroom, Richard first struck Hella unconscious with a blunt object, possibly a police flashlight. Mm-hmm. Those things weigh
a ton.
A lot.
Yeah.
So that would explain the blood stains found on the side of the mattress. Then carried her body to the freezer where he left it for some amount of time.
They had a deep freezer?
Well, he bought that chest freezer.
Oh, right. Oh.
Mm-hmm. So he bought that freezer. Yeah, he bought all those suspicious things within the few days leading up to her disappearance.
Smart.
Yeah. Then Richard had taken Hella's body out of the freezer on the night that he was seen at the river by the witness, chopped it into several large portions with the chainsaw, then put each portion through the wood chipper.
This is making me lightheaded. I know I'm also high, but holy shit.
It's
gruesome.
It's so gruesome. And of all the ways to get rid of a body,
this is one of the most violent and gruesome processes.
And extra.
It's too much.
It's way too much. The police believe that the dismembered pieces of Hella's body were scattered into the river and the area around it. They also never found the freezer itself. It was probably somewhere else in the river.
Yeah, he got rid of it.
But they had the receipt for it, so...
So they knew he had it, yeah.
Yeah. But leave it to the justice system to provide a huge loophole. Richard couldn't be tried for causing his wife's death until state agencies officially recorded her as dead, and the absence of an identifiable body posed obstacles to that conclusion.
And they didn't have enough viscera or blood to say
that this person
she said
died.
They couldn't have survived it.
Mm-hmm.
We'll talk that's what? Corpus delicti? We talk about that in my case too.
Oh, good.
It's a thing.
After a forensic dentist confirmed that the tooth that they found was a match to Hella's dental records, the Connecticut State Medical Examiner's Office accepted this evidence and issued a death certificate for her, and Richard was arrested for Hella's murder in January of 1987.
Thank God.
I mean, I think given all of the circumstantial shit around this, you would have to be
pretty blatantly ignoring evidence to not charge him.
Yeah, I would hope that there's enough bend in the law to allow for something that appears this glaring.
Well, and even the cops were like, okay, buddy, we can't protect you anymore. You chopped up your wife.
Yeah, plus this is just an arrest. It's not.
Yeah.
He still has to go to trial.
Mm.
Due to extensive publicity, because Richard's trial was moved to New London, Connecticut. The trial began in May of 1988, and forensic evidence was key, obviously. However, on July 15th, 1988, a mistrial was declared after the jury became deadlocked 11-1 in favor of conviction, when that one juror walked out of deliberations after refusing to vote to convict. And I bet you anything that juror was a man.
Ugh.
The trial was moved to Norwalk, Connecticut, again due to the massive publicity surrounding the case and subsequent mistrial in New London. And finally, Richard Crafts was found guilty on November 21st of 1989. The following January, he was sentenced to serve 50 years in state prison. He was the first man ever convicted of murder in Connecticut without the discovery of the victim's body. He was released from prison in late 2019.
Oh, good.
But I think like he had terminal cancer and like, I don't fucking know. He was moved to a homeless shelter for veterans. And I'm pretty sure he's dead.
Well, ladies, if he's not dead and you see this guy on Tinder, swipe left.
Yeah. Oh,
no.
The kids, by the way, grew up. They were sent to live with Richard's sister in Westport, which was the aunt that they were going to visit the day of Hella's disappearance. But yeah, isn't that fucking wild?
I hope they're okay. I mean, my God.
Ooh, yeah. Also, as I was typing up those notes, my neighbor was using a chainsaw to like cut up branches. And I had the window open.
The soundtrack of that.
It gave me the willies.
Honey.
Yeah. Okay, I have one more short case. Trigger warning. My first one was rough. This one is
even worse.
Really, even worse. Okay. The victim's younger, is what I'm going to say. Candace Tierra Elmore was born on November 19th, 1989. She was a Scorpio in North Carolina to a teen mother and an abusive father. Her parents were Angela and Todd Elmore. When she was a young girl, she often took care of her two siblings and tried to protect her mother from her father's abuse. She and her siblings were removed from the home and placed in foster care when Candace was 5 years old. And from there, she moved a couple of times and understandably, reportedly, began to show signs of rebellion and angry outbursts.
Yeah, she needs therapy for all of the trauma in her first 5 years of life.
Yeah. And like consistent safe care. So in 1996, Jean Newmaker, a 42-year-old single woman childless cat lady, adopted 6-year-old Candace. I don't know that she had cats, but now she has a child. So Jean was a pediatric nurse with a big 5-bedroom home in Durham. So this situation seemed very promising for the young girl who had been through some fucking shit. Jean enrolled Candace in one of the best schools in the state. She gave her riding lessons, swimming lessons, gymnastics lessons, blah, blah, blah. Jean just wanted to give and receive affection. However, she struggled with Candace, who did not seem to want her adoptive mother's love or parenting. Also, it's called trauma.
Yeah.
This is the late 90s. I think that, I don't know.
Yeah.
The whole thing is really fucking sad.
Right. Reading it through a 2024 lens, it's pretty easy to see that Candace, it wouldn't have mattered whose care Candace wound up in. She was not well emotionally and psychologically because of all of the trauma of her childhood, and she needed that to be addressed.
Well, it's addressed. While neighbors and teachers described Candace as a bright, creative young girl, Jean was overwhelmed by the, quote, level of dysfunction in Candace's behavior. According to an interview with the Denver Post in the spring of 1999, Jean said she woke up in the middle of the night to the smell of smoke in her home.
Oh, dear.
When she found Candace, quote, she was sitting on the bed in the guest room with spent matches all around her. In an article for The Guardian UK, Jean said that Candace once pulled down a floor-to-ceiling bookcase, which smashed up a bunch of, I think, Jean's beloved, like, glass horses.
Oh, no.
Yeah, there was something about her, like, killing goldfish. She was, she wasn't well. She needed help. Over a few years, Jean put Candace on mood-altering drugs and took her to multiple therapists and doctors, but nothing seemed to work. Eventually, and on the advice of a certified North Carolina psychologist, Jean took her 10-year-old Candace to Evergreen, Colorado, which is a remote mountain town about 30 miles west of Denver. According to an LA Times article, Evergreen was the epicenter for therapy for, quote, reactive attachment disorder.
Okay.
RAD. Mm-hmm. So this is a condition in which an infant or a young child doesn't establish healthy attachments with parents or caregivers. It can also develop if the child's basic needs for comfort, affection, and nurturing aren't met or haven't been established with others. So
You do have psych.
I do have psych. Mm-hmm. There we go. So therefore, this town of Evergreen had become the place where distraught parents went to when traditional medicine couldn't provide solutions. So there were a bunch of both licensed and unlicensed practitioners of various therapeutic methods.
Yeah, it's reminding me of like the teen behavioral camp programs a little bit.
Yes.
Okay.
So Jean felt that she had tried everything, so this was like sort of a last-ditch effort. Mm-hmm. So Jean chose to work there with a person named Connell Watkins, who was best known and most controversial in her field. She specialized...
So Jean, the adoptive parent, took a job there so she could like stay close?
No. They just went there to do this therapy with Candace. Jean took Candace to Evergreen.
Okay.
But Jean got to choose which therapists they were going to see.
Okay.
And she chose this Watkins.
Oh, okay. To work with this therapist. I thought you meant like
I didn't word that very well.
I'm also high, so I'm not going to understand things.
That's
perfectly.
fine. Yeah. So Watkins specialized in a new form of therapy known as rebirthing. And this
don't love this.
The idea of this kind of therapy was developed by like some guy a while back, and it was mostly like meditation and maybe some hypnotherapy and like
pretty benign,
like softer methods.
Okay.
This Watkins person took it a lot more literally than that. So this was not that kind of therapy.
Got it.
This 2-week intensive treatment session would cost Jean $7,000.
Oh, shit.
And important to note that Watkins was not licensed.
Oh, great.
On April 10th, 2000, Jean and Candace reported to Watkins' home. The next day, Candace and Jean met Dr. John Alston, an Evergreen psychiatrist who most attachment therapists there used as a consultant.
Okay.
Alston described Jean as a classic, quote, abused mom who was weighed down by despair and frustration. He adjusted Candace's medications, stopping her Effexor, which is a drug used to treat depression, but increasing her Risperdal by 50%.
Okay.
And Risperdal is a medication used to treat certain mental and mood disorders. It can have like a sedating effect.
Okay.
That can lead to lethargy and confusion. It's basically supposed to calm you down, but he ramped that up by 50% and
so she's kind of just out of it.
Antidepressant. Well, we don't really know how it affected her necessarily, but to me, looking at these adjustments, it seems kind of drastic considering he had just met this girl.
Yeah. And
she's 10 years old, too.
She's a kid, and it does also kind of seem like they're trying to just subdue her behavior rather than slowly adjust medication while also using therapy to try and get to the source of the behavior.
Yeah.
Just seems like, oh, this kid's out of control. Let's like ramp up this med and dial down this med.
Yeah. And neither of us are fucking doctors.
No.
But that is not the biggest problem of this whole situation. So
great.
During the first few days of the treatment, Watkins and her 3 associates, we have Julie Ponder, Britta Lynn St. Clair, and Jack Dudley McDaniel. So there's 4, we'll call them therapists.
Okay.
So they noticed that Candace seemed emotionally withdrawn after her medication was changed. Go fucking figure.
Yeah.
Watkins described Candace as having, quote, a look in her eyes like nobody was home. On April 17th, so we're halfway through the 2-week program, Alston placed Candace back on Effexor to counter her, quote, dissociation.
Okay. Because, she's just kind of out of it at this point.
Yeah, so he's like, whoops, we'll put you back on this. That same day, Watkins' team conducted compression therapy, where Candace lay down on a mat and they wrapped her in a sheet with only her head uncovered. And then they instructed Jean to lie on top of her, bracing herself on like cushions to distribute her weight.
Mm-hmm.
And this was supposed to make Candace compliant with her mother and to give Jean like control, like a sense of control. This is the first clue that this is not going.
It's a little weird. Although I will say that like it's kind of like the weighted blanket effect, at least for me. Like if I'm stressed, I want Bill to just like lay on me and just like crush me a little bit. So like I can understand being drawn to a method like that, but I can also compression, but I can also see it quickly becoming dangerous.
Yeah. I mean, we weren't there. We don't know if Candace gave like enthusiastic and repeated consent for this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, and how enthusiastic and repeated can your consent be when you're a drugged up 10-year-old with like serious trauma that results in behavioral issues?
And maybe there's something to be said about compression to calm someone.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I put June to sleep last night at 11 p.m.
I mean, you swaddle babies.
I just had to hold her.
Nice and tight, yeah.
She was all over the place. She's a fucking maniac.
Mm-hmm.
Flipping around.
Ugh, you poor sleep-deprived little thing.
Anyway, jury's out on this particular strategy, but it's it gets worse. It gets worse. Here we go. Afterward, they unwrapped Candace and told her to crawl to her mother, sit in her lap, and lie in her arms quietly. The team then gave Jean a plate of food to feed to Candace as if she were an infant.
Mm-hmm.
Jean thought that this was like a breakthrough moment and felt that she had finally connected with her daughter. It's just weird. Mm-hmm. So this rebirthing thing, they're taking it really literally.
Yeah, I'm expecting them to wheel in like a giant womb.
Oh, honey, here we go.
What?
Here we go. On April 18th, Candace was subjected to a 3-hour session of rebirthing, during which she was told to, quote, imagine yourself as a tiny baby inside your mother's womb and what that felt like. In the Guardian report, there's mention of a videotape of the session that shows Candace telling the adults in the room that she had a vague memory of being dropped from a window 2 flights up and that she had a nightmare where her mother murdered her.
Oh, my God.
So she ends up telling them that she just wants to feel safe.
Oh, this poor kid.
Ponder explained more about the rebirthing process to Candace. She told her that she would have to kick, scream, and fight through a pretend birth canal. She was told it would be tight in there, but she would have lots of air to breathe. And when she was done, she needed to reach out to her new mom.
No.
So like when you get out of the birth canal, you reach out to your mom. She's there to feed you and hold you and comfort you.
Oh, no, I know exactly where this is going to go.
Ponder would lead this part of the therapy session. She was a California licensed marriage and family therapist with 2 master's degrees, but she didn't have any Colorado credentials.
Okay.
Ponder pulled out a blue queen-size flannel sheet and told Candace to lie down in the middle of it in the fetal position. Ponder wrapped the sheet around her, tucking in each side and twisting the top over Candace's head. Watkins placed 4 pillows around Candace to kind of box her in. The other assistants and Jean positioned themselves around Candace, with Ponder and Jean near her head, the direction where Candace would eventually be, quote-unquote, reborn.
Rebirthed, yeah.
Ponder and Jean spoke to Candace through the twisted opening, and others pressed on the pillows to simulate birth contractions.
Ugh, okay.
Ponder told Candace to push, but the young girl couldn't figure out, like, where she was supposed to come out.
Yeah, imagine how fucking disorienting this would be.
I think the sheet was, and it was flannel, so it was like...
It's hot, it's thick.
It's thick, and if you twist it, it's not just gonna, like, burst open,
no,
you know what I mean?
No, that shit's tight. You can't just, like, rip it, either.
I think that
it's thick.
I think it was twisted around her head in a way that, and she tucked in on all sides. She literally couldn't push her way out. Also, I'm sorry, babies don't push their way out of the birth canal.
They sure fucking don't.
Okay. After 10 minutes of this, Candace began to plead with them to let her out. But the team didn't stop and continued to press on the pillows. During the first 16 minutes, Candace told them she was going to die a total of 6 times.
Oh my God.
Even after all of her protests, Watkins and her team increased their pressure on the pillows.
You guys.
Watkins and Ponder even repositioned themselves to gain more leverage to push harder. A few moments later, Ponder and McDaniel repositioned themselves to be more on top of Candace. So these 4 adults combined...
They're crushing her.
These 4 adults combined weighed 672 pounds. 10-year-old Candace...
Is 10.
She weighed 70 pounds. At one point, one of the members told Candace... At one point, one of the members told Candace, "You want to die? Okay, then die. Go ahead. Die right now." At one point, Candace was screaming for help. 40 minutes into the session, Candace was asked if she wanted to be reborn, and she faintly said no.
Ooh.
This would be her last word.
Oh my God.
And in response to this, Dr. Ponder said, quote, "Quitter, quitter, 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 quit, 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 quit. She's a quitter."
Are you fucking kidding me? Mm-mm. This is the worst shit I've ever fucking heard in my life.
I'm sorry, I told you it was dark.
Oh my God.
70 minutes into the session and 30 minutes after Candace last spoke, they kept doing this for another half fucking hour. Watkins and Ponder unwrapped Candace. At the time, Jean was in another room because Watkins asked her to leave when things were getting a little intense. And specifically, she told Jean she didn't want Candace to, quote, pick up on her sorrow. It was a vibes thing. Jean should go in the other room.
Oh, I'm speechless.
Yeah. When they uncovered Candace, her face was pale and flecked with vomit. She felt clammy, and Watkins thought she was sleeping.
No.
When they called out her name, Candace did not respond. Jean, who again was a pediatric nurse, rushed back into the room and began performing CPR on her daughter, even though Jean believed that Candace was already dead.
Oh my God.
So Watkins called 911. Candace was rushed to the hospital where she was declared brain dead from asphyxiation, and she passed away the next day. I'm shocked she was still alive at all.
I can't believe it. I can't believe this fucking happened.
Yeah. So unconventional therapy methods and how those turn out was sort of the theme of this.
Did they get charged with her murder?
Yes. So Connell, Watkins, and Julie Ponder were charged with reckless child abuse resulting in death. They were both sentenced to 16 years in prison. Britta St. Clair and Jack McDaniel originally faced identical charges, but in a plea bargain, pled guilty to lesser felonies for negligent child abuse and received 10 years probation and 1,000 hours of community service. Jean Newmaker, the mother, also faced lesser charges of negligent child abuse and got a minimum sentence of 4 years. The sentence was deferred for 4 years, effectively making it probation, and then she also got 400 hours of community service.
Yeah.
As a result of Candace's death, there is now a law known as Candace's Law in Colorado and North Carolina, which outlaws dangerous reenactments of birth experiences, which I didn't realize was that fucking common.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the House and Senate have both passed resolutions encouraging similar legislation in other states. Okay, listen to this. Candace's death was one of 6 documented child deaths that occurred during these rebirthing treatments. So six documented, probably more.
Yeah. And I wonder how many were at the hands of these practitioners. Like, there's a whole thing. You want to say, oh my gosh, how did nobody in that room stop and say, like, what the fuck are we doing? Mm-hmm. But it's almost like it turns into mob mentality where you're just like gassing each other up. You're following the lead of a quote unquote professional. Mm-hmm. Everybody else in the room is still participating. So I'm going to keep participating. There's whole scientific behavioral experiments about shit like this.
Absolutely. Yep. And I mean, I don't know what the fuck Jean was thinking about her daughter.
And, you know, I'm glad that Jean had to carry some consequences here. Mm-hmm. And also, like, this is a desperate woman at the end of her rope who was, she thought, getting comprehensive care for her kid. That's a complicated one. That's really tough.
And she was a nurse. She should have known that, like,
I know that this could fucking kill her kid.
Asphyxiation. Yeah. Well,
I mean, when you started going, I was like, okay, she's gonna die in there and she's gonna suffocate. I didn't know that they were going to crush her under 4 adults.
It was like a positional asphyxiation situation because fetal position in a flannel, I can't. That's a nightmare. That is a nightmare.
That is a literal nightmare. Like, my claustrophobia could never.
Well, you didn't have a choice. You have 4 adults sitting on you.
No, of course. No, no shade to Candace whatsoever. Mm-mm. This poor girl deserved help and got murdered.
Yeah. Yep. Anyway, so unconventional. Let's keep it that way.
All right. Well, should we take a quick mental health break to hear a word from our sponsors and then get to my case?
Yeah, I think I need to heat up some soup.
I regret everything.
This was your pick.
I know. That's why I'm taking responsibility for my own regret.
Okay, well.
Get your soup. We'll be right back.
We'll be right back. You might think you know how gross your toilet is, but
you don't.
I got a fun fact for you. It's way grosser than you think it is. Bacteria and viruses can actually like hang around in the toilet bowl even after multiple flushes. And you're not going to want to clean your toilet every day. This is crazy. So there is a much easier way to clean your toilet, and that is with Blue Land's sustainable toilet cleaner tablets. This is my favorite Blue Land product.
They smell so good.
They smell so good. It's like Alka-Seltzer for your toilet. You just drop in a little tab, you watch it fizz up. It smells like lemony fresh. You brush it, you flush it. It is that simple. There's no more scrubbing. You don't need to get like all up in there. And these tablets are completely plastic free.
Blue Land is on a mission to eliminate single-use plastic by reinventing cleaning essentials to be better for you and the planet with the same powerful clean you're used to. This stuff is incredible. My house is like a sparkling, clean magic land, and it smells like a spa. Blue Land uses no single-use plastic in any component, from bottles, tablets, and wrappers to shipping. Their tablet packaging is fully compostable, and Blue Land products are effective and affordable. Their toilet tablets are proven to work on a range of toilet stains, including rust, mineral deposits, limescale, and hard water, those really tough stains to get out. You can even get more savings, like I do, by buying refills in bulk or setting up a subscription. I love their subscriptions. They're customizable and so convenient, so you never run out of your most used products. You don't have to run to the store on cleaning day. Blue Land is trusted in over 1 million homes, including ours. What are you waiting for?
Blue Land has a special offer for our listeners. Right now, get 15% off your first order by going to blueland.com/gals. You won't want to miss this. Blueland.com/gals for 15% off. That's blueland.com/gals to get 15% off.
Y'all, we're like it's fall. It's like soup and bread season, baby. And I am not a baker, okay? I don't know how to bake. But with Wild Grain, I don't need to be a baker to whip out, cook, and eat an impressive loaf of bread. Wild Grain is the first ever bake from frozen subscription box for sourdough breads, fresh pastas, and artisanal pastries.
Yeah, Wild Grain saves my butt. I'm very much looking forward to Thanksgiving when I can get those like fresh, warm, amazing smelling croissants out of the oven and really impress my in-laws. Every item from Wild Grain bakes from frozen in 25 minutes or less. You don't have to thaw. You don't have to sit around. You don't have to plan ahead. Nope. Your Wild Grain box is fully customizable, so you can choose any combination of breads, pastas, and pastries that your heart desires. If you want a box of just pasta, you got it. Wild Grain also just launched a brand new plant-based box featuring a wide selection of plant-based pastries, breads, and hand-cut pastas. Their food, It's not only
It's
convenient,
delicious.
it is absurdly delicious. You got to check it out.
People can't believe that it's not like made from scratch by me. And I'm like,
Let them think that, honestly.
no, there's no way. I'm like, girl, no. For a limited time, you can get $30 off the first box plus free croissants in every box when you go to wildgrain.com/gals to start your subscription. You heard me. Free croissants in every box and $30 off your first box when you go to wildgrain.com/gals. That's wildgrain.com/gals. Or you can use promo code GALS at checkout.
Remember when you were like 5 years old and you played in a sandbox with your little plastic shovel and your little truck, and it was like gross if you thought about it, but you were 5, so you didn't think about it, so it's kind of fun? You're all grown up now, and it seems a lot grosser. And when you have a kitty in the home and you're scooping their litter box, you're just playing around in poopy dirt,
Yep.
poopy sand. And that is called being a responsible cat owner. And we previously did not have a choice.
No.
And it wasn't fun and it was really gross. But today, the future is now, and we have litter robots.
Oh my God. Litter Robot is the solution to all your litter box problems. Never scoop again with Litter Robot. I haven't scooped in the better part of a year now. It is a miracle. Litter Robot's self-cleaning technology automatically cleans after every use, so your cats will always have a fresh bed of litter to do their business. And your friends won't think your house smells like a litter box. And get this, Litter Robot will send you a notification to your phone when it needs to be emptied. It even gives you data and insights to stay on top of your cat's health. We get these alerts that are like, Beans is using the inappropriate term that Bill assigned to our litter robot. It doesn't get any easier than this, and your cat will thank you. Join over 1 million happy pets and pet parents who've upgraded to Litter Robot. What are you waiting for? I am obsessed with it. It has changed our life. As an owner of 2 cats, that's a lot of litter scooping, okay? This has completely changed the game. I cannot endorse this highly enough.
Whisker is currently offering $50 off Litter Robot bundles. As a special offer to listeners of this show, go to stopscooping.com/gals and use promo code GALS to save an additional $50 on any Litter Robot bundle. That's $100 off any Litter Robot bundle at stopscooping.com/gals and use that promo code GALS. Stopscooping.com/gals, promo code GALS.
Okay, well, my case is gnarly, so buckle up. Let's just dive in without any foreplay, shall we?
Raw dog.
Raw dog it. John George Hi was born July 24th, 1909, a Leo, to parents Alfred and Emily. Born in Stamford, Lincolnshire, England.
Oh.
Raised in Outwood, West Yorkshire. You know what that means.
Thank
I'm
God.
clinging to the only scraps where there can be comedy, so here's some geography. His birthplace of Stamford, Lincolnshire is east of Morphetborth.
Morphetborth.
Beautiful Morphetborth.
Yeah.
West of Bungay. South of Goole.
It's Bengay for your bum.
Yep. And north of Horley.
Oh, no. Ghoul.
Beautiful Horley, Goole, Bengay, and Morphetborth.
I can't get over Morphetborth.
I'll never recover from Morphetborth.
We'll never linguistically recover.
Never.
Morphetborth.
Obsessed with Morphetborth. The family was extremely religious, his parents. I mean, children are just forced to do what the parents do.
Uh-huh.
They belonged to a religious group called the Plymouth Brethren. Wow, I can't read.
Morphetborth.
The Plymouth Morphetborth Brethren, an extremely conservative Protestant sect who advocated for austere lifestyles.
Oh, God, that sounds
I know,
so boring.
It sucks. There's nothing I like less than an austere lifestyle. Fuck that.
Yours is the opposite of austere.
I mean, yeah, I would agree with that. The family believed that almost all forms of casual entertainment, music, magazines, books, sports, sinful.
If it brings you any pleasure. Broccoli cheese soup, sinful.
Fucking
sinful,
blue
so
almond
good.
roasted almonds.
Sinful.
Weed. Sinful. Bible stories were the only accepted form of entertainment in their household, and the father believed that the world was evil and put up a 10-foot fence around their yard to exclude the evil outside world, which, like, that is the only place we align. Honestly.
What about the birds? Evil birds, chickens.
Birds aren't real.
Birds
That
are
chicken,
evil.
you think that chicken could get over a 10-foot fence back into your yard? How is the chicken, by the way?
Oh, I think it's dead. I haven't seen that chicken in weeks.
Did you kill it?
No. I certainly didn't chase the cats away from it.
The least convincing no I've ever heard in my life, but whatever. It's not illegal to kill a chicken.
If it's not yours, it might be. I don't want beef with the chicken people. The chicken people are nuts.
No. Later on, and we'll kind of come... So, in 1944, so when he was an adult, he got into a quote-unquote car accident, which, like, he did get into a car accident, but it was to commit insurance fraud so he could get money. So, like, fuck you.
Oh.
But he claimed that in that accident, blood from a head wound dripped into his mouth and revived, like, repressed memories of recurring nightmares from his childhood.
His own blood?
Yes.
Is it that easy to revive old recurring nightmares from your childhood?
I mean, if it was, then every, like, not recommended diabetic move of me licking my finger after doing a finger prick check would have brought back a lot of memories, but guess what? It didn't. So this guy's also, like, a notorious bullshitter.
Okay.
And we'll get to it, but a lot of folks don't believe much of anything he said about his childhood, and that he pulled a lot of this shit out to help build the only defense that he had when he was finally apprehended and brought to trial, which was an insanity defense.
So the austere lifestyle might have been bullshit
That
too?
was real.
Oh,
That was
okay.
real. Yep. Can confirm that was real. But, like, these repressed dreams, these weren't, like, memories of things that happened to him. These were recurring dreams. He allegedly, suddenly after this fraudulent car accident in 1944, was like, I tasted my blood and I remember this. So
Okay.
he described having dreams as a child where he'd be in, like, a vast forest and the trees would turn into crucifixes that were weeping blood.
Cool.
Quote, I know, right? I'm like, write that movie.
It's pretty goth.
I saw before me a forest of crucifixes, he wrote, which gradually turned into trees and back and forth, vice versa. At first, there appeared to be dew or rain dripping from the branches, but as I approached, I realized it was blood. Suddenly, the whole forest began to writhe, and the trees, stark and erect, to ooze blood.
This just sounds like a mushroom trip.
Yeah, a bad one.
Mm-hmm.
A man went to each tree catching the blood. That man approached me to drink the blood.
What's with the
I
drinking
would-
of the blood?
Yeah. But High claimed he would wake up before he would take a drink. He later told police that it was these dreams that made him believe he needed blood to live, and it was widely reported that John's childhood ambition was to become a vampire. Again, generally people don't believe that he even really had these nightmares, and that he was making this shit up to bolster an insanity defense.
Okay.
But he would describe his childhood as bleak and lonely, which honestly is believable considering they were...
He wanted to be a vampire.
Well, and that they were, like, not allowed to have any joy, and their dad built, like, a 10-foot fence to keep evil birds out of their fucking yard, so...
Yeah.
Doesn't sound like a super joyous upbringing.
No. Well, joy was a sin.
Right. He claimed that his life had been quiet and monastic without the typical joys of childhood. He was frequently reminded that the Lord was always watching and that he should take care not to aggrieve the Lord.
Oh my God.
He stated that although he rarely misbehaved, when he did, his mother would hit him on the back of his hand with the bristle side of a hairbrush.
Ooh,
and he
ouch.
said that, yeah, he said that this would sometimes draw blood that he claimed he would lick. And that's how he developed a craving for blood. Again, most people don't believe these stories, but I believe that he was hit with the brush. I don't believe that he licked at his paw and it made him crave blood. That's the part that people are like, okay, take several seats.
Yeah. That's where, you lost me.
One of the things he was allowed to do and was taught was playing the piano at home, and he did actually become very proficient. He was a very talented pianist. He won a scholarship to Queen Elizabeth Grammar School in Wakefield and won another scholarship to Wakefield Cathedral, like high school or college. No, high school. He became a choir boy. His entire education was Christian schooling. As an adult, he eventually stopped attending his parents' church when he gets married briefly, and is like, I'm an adult now. I don't want to fucking go to your church anymore, and kind of detaches himself from this part of his life.
Oh, okay.
As a young adult, after he graduated from high school, he apprenticed with a firm of motor engineers and then later took jobs in insurance and in advertising. But at 21, he was fired from like his first major job, as it was suspected that he was stealing from the cash box. But in terms of other like childhood or young adult crime before this point, his record was clean. I think they just fired him, but they never like pressed charges or anything for the theft.
So it was an innocent, it wasn't like he was asking for his coworker's blood on work while punched in.
No, but this marked the beginning of how he was going to make money, which is important because his defense is all about like, oh, I'm insane. And it's like, no, you were broke and you didn't want to fucking work.
Oh.
Like basically everything you did was like coincidentally aligned with some fraudulent scheme.
Like it was motivated by money.
Mm-hmm. And this was the first time that he'd been caught in the act stealing, but he had no priors. They just fired him. He moved on with his life.
Got it.
On July 6, 1934, he married a young woman named Betty Hammer. She was 21. They did not know each other very well, but he was
hardly know her.
Hardly know her, literally. But she was impressed by his manners and charm. He was apparently extremely charming, which he would have to be because he pulls off some wild shit.
Ugh.
It's unlikely he pushed for this marriage so quickly, or it is likely, that he pushed for this marriage so quickly to get away from his religious and strict parents' household. Like I said, it's like, I'm married now. I've got my own shit going on. I don't have to go to this fucking church anymore. His new wife, Betty, had doubts about his character pretty quickly and was like, how are you making money? Like, you don't go to work. But she went through with the marriage. They moved into her parents' like basement. Her parents were not thrilled about the match and thought maybe she was a little too young to be getting married to this guy who like can't really tell us if he has a job or not.
Yeah, it's a little suspicious.
Mm-hmm. But I think probably to protect their daughter, they let the couple live with them. So it's not like they were living in their own place. They could keep an eye on things.
Okay.
The marriage only lasted 4 months because in October of 1934, High would be arrested and jailed for fraud. And we'll get to what happened there in a second. While he was in jail, Betty gave birth to a baby girl. She, knowing that she wanted to exit the marriage, placed the child for adoption. She left him, although she did not officially file for divorce. He would only see her once more after the separation when he was released from prison, and that was to tell her that they were never really married because he had a wife, which wasn't even true. He had no wife. Motivation for why he would say this is pretty unclear, but I'm thinking it's like well, I don't care that you left me. I was already married, so fuck you kind of move.
Yep.
And then he just fucked off. They really didn't see each other again. This guy was also suspected of being a compulsive liar, so like who the fuck knows? So in 1934, he's jailed for fraud for 15 months, and the fraud involved car sale and like repair shops. I think mostly like used car sales. His approach was to advertise that he was like seeking to purchase a garage, stating that the necessary capital was available to like take over a business. He would then select a garage whose owner was having financial trouble. He would take on an option to purchase. During the option, the commission on any cars that High sold would be divided. So it's like, we're going to keep the business going. I'm working on the sale, but I want to start making money from the business that I'm buying. So he'd get a cut of commissions while the sale was pending.
For really not doing anything?
For not doing anything, except like basically keeping these desperate people on the hook for when the sale would be complete.
Okay, but in reality, he's not contributing anything.
No. And then he would use the name of the garage to like make business purchases, quote unquote, for cars. But like they don't have the capital to do that. But it's the 30s. So it's not like you get approved, right there on a computer. It's like a lot of times you could like start these transactions.
It might take a couple weeks.
Exactly. And then he could just fuck off in the time it takes for any of this to actually catch up with him.
Man, it was so easy to commit crimes back then.
It really was. He would forge people's handwriting who lived in the vicinity of the garage and use that to create fictitious purchases of non-existent cars to like show that the business was doing well. The company would advance the money from these fake car sales, and then High couldn't actually pay them back in cash because he never sold those cars. He got away with this for only a few months before he was arrested and imprisoned for 15 months. So he didn't get out soon enough for them to be like, all of this is bullshit. What the fuck are you doing?
Well, like, how far did he really think he could push that?
I don't think he really thought a lot of this through. He claimed he got this idea by reading about a guy who had been arrested for doing the same thing, somehow ignoring the fact that the guy was emulated, ended up in jail. So he was like, I could do that.
It's like in Dumb and Dumber when he's like, oh, I saw that in the movie once when they did the sea bass when they walked out on their tab or whatever. And he's like,
not as easy as it looks.
It's like, oh, will the guy get away with it scot-free? And he's like, no, they chased him down about a couple miles down the road and caught up to him and slit his throat.
Yeah, exactly. After he was released from this stint in jail, he tried to go into the dry cleaning business, but it apparently was actually becoming successful at that time. Dry cleaning was like this new hot thing. But his attempt went bust after his business partner was killed in a motorcycle accident.
Oh, God.
So apparently this also killed any desire that I had to like earn an honest living. So then he moves to London and he's hired to be a chauffeur and repair arcade machine repairman for a guy named, I know, right? William, who went by Mac McSwan. He was the son of Donald and Amy McSwan. They were a wealthy family who owned amusement arcades. So he would drive them around and he would repair the machines.
Cool.
He and Mac soon became good friends. They both liked fast cars, flashy clothes, and London pubs. But High would become envious of Mac's wealth. The McSwan family liked High. They promoted him to a manager and thought that he was an excellent employee. And they were sad to see him go when he wanted to leave and get into business for himself. Quote, when I discovered there were easier ways of making a living than to work long hours in an office for other people. He later wrote, I did not ask myself whether I was doing right or wrong. That seemed to me to be irrelevant. I merely said, that's what I wish to do. And as the means lie with my power, that's what I decided.
That is a little
manifestation, baby.
Psychotic. Okay.
So High left McSwan's employment and set up a fake solicitor's office, like a law firm, by using the name of a reputable firm and used the alias of William Cato Adamson.
He really just does whatever the fuck he wants.
He really does. I think he just really likes to make up fun names for himself, and that's the real motivation here.
Cato
Adamson. When he pretended to have an estate to liquidate and some public company shares to dispose of, people were like, oh, okay, he's legit. And checks would come in for services, and High would cash them without actually providing services. He would then skip town and duplicate this scheme elsewhere under different names to keep cash flowing. So he'd like set up shop, say that he was working on whatever in this area, take on other jobs, take their money, not do anything, leave. When one of his clients noticed copious misspellings in his official paperwork, he questioned him enough to get suspicious of his legitimacy and reported him to the authorities. So like, if you're going to be a criminal, be thorough in your spell check, because that shit.
That's how I would catch a criminal.
It's exactly how you would catch a criminal. At age 28, he was now sentenced to 4 years in prison. It was apparently during those 4 years that he realized his biggest mistake was leaving the theft victims alive to report him. Within a year of getting out, he was back in again for 21 months on a breaking and entering charge. He often wouldn't serve his full sentences because he was like such a model prisoner and very charming.
One of those slippery ones.
Uh-huh. So anyway, in this situation, he had claimed the owner of the stolen goods had asked him to sell the things that he had taken, but his lies failed to save him and he was jailed for the theft of various goods. While he's in jail, you get various work assignments oftentimes when you're in there. So he learned and did work with sulfuric acid in the prison's tin shop. When other prisoners went out on work detail off-site, he would ask them to bring back field mice.
Oh my God.
He would experiment with the acid using the mice they supplied, studying the effects of the acid on animal tissue. He discovered that it only took a half hour for the acid to dissolve an entire mouse, including the bones. To his mind, given enough acid and enough time, it was the perfect way to dispose of a body. So he gets out of jail eventually, and he's back out and trying to figure out what to do with his money, and he reunites with Mac McSwan.
His buddy.
In 1944, High rented a basement space in London where he kept large amounts of acid. At this time, he happened to run into Mac McSwan again at the Goat Pub in Kensington. They had a happy reunion, and Mac took him to meet up with his parents, who also were like, oh my gosh, it's so great to see you. The family talked about their recent investments in property and their general success, but meanwhile, High is like, yeah, I just got out of jail again. So High is jealous and sees a target. He and Mac reestablish their friendship. They're spending a lot of time together over the next several weeks, but then on September 6th, 1994, this was the last physical, in-person, can-confirm contact anybody had with young Mac.
Uh-oh.
When he wrote a postcard, apparently, on Hay's behalf, which, like, sent to someone for Hay, but it was, like, in Mac's handwriting. It wasn't explicitly said in the research, but I think that having Mac write the postcard was High or Hay showing proof of life and getting samples of his handwriting.
Oh.
I don't know if like writing postcards for somebody else was a thing. I don't know, but I think this was probably a ploy to A, have something with his handwriting that can be sent out after the fact to make it look like he's still alive, and B, have his handwriting, because this guy, you already know, he forges signatures and all kinds of shit.
Yeah.
He's done it a million times. So September 9th, 1944, High's diary, which he kept a diary, had a cross etched in red crayon under an entry for that date, but nothing else. It was just that date and then a red crayon cross.
Ew, creepy. Bloody cross.
Very creepy. Bloody cross. It's believed that he had either killed Mac or disposed of his body on this date.
Oh my God.
How he did it, he allegedly lured, well, not allegedly because he confessed, but also he's a piece of shit. So after luring Mac down to the basement space where he stored his acid,
His acid collection. He killed him with blunt force trauma to the head using a pipe. Ugh.
And now he had this body to dispose of. He first removed Mac's valuables and clothing so that he could keep or sell what he wanted. High had acquired an old 40-gallon drum, and he put Mac's body in it, but it was a lot harder to do that than he thought because John High is like a decent-sized dude. He's 5'8", and Mac was taller and like more robust than him.
Well, dead bodies are just really fucking heavy.
So he had to lay the barrel on its side and drag Mac's body over to it. It would take over half an hour because he had to fold Mac's body over to get it to fit before he could finally tip the drum back upright and pack Mac's overcoat around in like the empty space of the barrel. He then donned an apron and gloves to fill the drum with acid, one bucket full at a time, because he was just ordering these like sealed buckets, like I would imagine canisters of acid.
Oh my God.
It would take hours before the body was fully submerged in the acid, and the fumes of the acid were accumulating in the basement, which had terrible ventilation. So it took even longer because he'd have to take frequent breaks to go outside and get fresh air.
Ew.
Yeah. The acid became intensely hot as it reacted to the body. High covered the drum, locked his office, basement space, and went to sleep and waited for the body to dissolve.
Oh my God.
2 days later, High returned to check on the progress. Inside the drum was a blackish porridge-like substance smeared with red streaks. Yeah. He used a wooden rod to stir the sludge and ensure that Mac was dissolved completely.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Just 2 days?
2 days. 2 days.
Jesus.
To become a
black porridge like the red streaks.
Yep. You can really picture it.
Oh, yeah.
It's not great.
I bet it smelled so bad.
Yeah, that probably wasn't awesome. And sulfuric acid already kind of reeks, doesn't it? I'm thinking of like sulfur.
Can't say that I've... Oh, yeah, probably.
Like rotten... Bleh. Anyway, whatever. Who knows? There's no way this was pleasant.
Does sulfuric acid stink?
Oh, that a girl.
Sulfuric acid is odorless. However, when exposed to concentrated sulfuric acid in the air, your nose might be irritated and it might seem like it has a pungent odor.
Okay. Well, you learn something new every day.
I mean, yeah. Obviously, this fucking reeked because it was a
dead body.
Boiled up human body.
Yeah. I can't imagine it smelled good. Discovering it sufficiently liquid-like, he emptied the drum by the bucketful, pouring it down a manhole drain in his basement.
Oh.
With that, he felt that he had perfectly disposed of a body, and he said he felt a sense of euphoria afterwards.
Please get a new hobby.
Yep.
You don't need to repeat this. Success, check, move on.
So he moves into Mac's place and just starts living the high life.
In his home.
In his home.
Jesus.
High would claim that he had felt a sudden need for blood, so he hit Mac over the head with a pipe and then slit his throat. He said, quote, I got a mug and took some blood from his neck in the mug and drank it. We have no proof that he actually did this. This is just something he said as he was approaching trial and at trial.
Wow.
He says he then returned home and went to sleep, leaving his friend to dissolve. He claimed that night he dreamed of the forests of blood and other blood-filled nightmares reminiscent of his childhood dreams.
Is it weird that I'm eating a hot soup while we're talking about this?
No, I'm snacking on almonds. We gotta do what we gotta do.
Hot soup is a little on the nose.
It's not tomato soup.
No, it's broccoli.
And at least you've moved on from those fucking sippable, microwavable Campbell's cans. Those gross me out so bad.
That's what I should have had Corey pick up at the store.
No. Forget I reminded you of that.
Those are good.
Oh, God, you're so gross. They never heat properly, ever, and you can't open and stir them. So you get like a cold sip and then a scalding sip. It's not good.
Mine doesn't. My microwave's better than yours.
Wow. Wow.
I've never had that problem.
All right. Well, back to poor Mac, who is now a porridge down a drain.
Oh, Mac.
Although there was no body left to be found to, corroborate his claim that he'd slit his throat, it's generally believed that he killed Mac for money, not because of a sudden urge for blood. The vampirism shit only came up during his insanity defense, plus the amount of acid that he had stored. Like, what does a vampire need all this acid for?
Exactly.
We're not buying it.
You just drink the blood and then they become a vampire and you move on.
Mm-hmm. But Mac is gone. Hyde tells Mac's parents that Mac had left town in order to avoid the draft because, World War II is ramping up.
Oh.
And Mac had already previously voiced plans to hide rather than be drafted. He did not want to go to war. So this actually seemed plausible to his parents.
Okay.
Hyde would also arrange for fake postcards to be sent to the McSwans from Scotland, pretending to be from Mac. So again, that handwriting.
Mm-hmm.
He then made plans to get rid of the McSwan parents and leave their fortune available to him. It's giving Saltburn.
Yeah, totally.
It's giving Saltburn.
He's taken out that whole family, so even though they're not related.
Yeah, he's trying to Saltburn these people.
Wow.
He then made plans to get rid of the parents. First, he wanted to improve his acid process, though. He's like, I got to make sure I do this right. So he DIY'd this sounds horrifying, a tin mask to protect himself against the acid fumes that had made it difficult to breathe the first time.
Oh my God.
Uh-huh. Sources vary, but he either got 2 barrels for dissolving or had a special acid bathtub made that was painted on the inside to resist the acid. It kind of leans toward the 2 barrels because that was just easier and cheaper, but who knows? He might have gotten way creepier.
Oh.
He bought a stirrup pump to make it much easier and faster to transfer the acid from the containers into the tub.
Yeah. He's working smarter.
He's working smarter, not harder, which I guess is his whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
So on July 2nd, 1945, the McSwan parents...
auspicious date.
Yeah. Yeah. Your birthday. The elder McSwans disappeared. Hyde told Donald and Amy that William, or Mac, had returned to London in secret and wanted to meet up at John's workshop that night. He told the pair that they couldn't tell anybody because Mac wanted his return to be a secret because he was dodging the draft. He lured Donald and Amy in separately. He brought Donald in first, and then he brought in Amy. When he brought in Donald, He hit him on the back of the head, just like he did to Mac. And after hiding Donald's body from sight, he went and returned for Amy and repeated the process so that one wouldn't try to save the other.
I hope that they actually died with the hit to the head. Mm-hmm.
I hope so too. Then he dissolved the pair in acid, just like their son. With the bodies disposed of, High would acquire access to their wealth. He told their landlady that they had gone to America. He had the family's mail forwarded to him, including Donald's pension. So he didn't he told his landlady, I guess, or whoever. No, their landlady. But then he didn't move into their house because he was still living in Mac's place. So that's why the landlady would have give any shits as to why he would be telling her that. Mm-hmm. So he's still living in Mac's place, but he's having checks, mail, everything mailed there. He forged Mac's signature on documents for power of attorney. He forged a deed on a property that was owned by Amy McSwan and put it into his name. He started selling off their properties, possessions, securities. He brought in around £8,000 to £10,000 doing that.
Jesus Christ.
Their disappearance was never reported and not even discovered until he confessed years later in 1949. No one
my God.
It. Yeah.
The audacity of this man.
Yeah, and it's also suspected that the timing of their deaths may have been motivated by the McSwans growing suspicious of their son's absence because by the time he killed them, July 2nd, 1945, the war was very much winding down. It wasn't over, but it was about to be over.
They you're not still getting drafted.
No, and they hadn't been drafting people for a while. It didn't officially end until September of 1945, but Germany surrendered in May.
Yeah.
He killed them in July. Mac was still not hiding from the draft. I think that the parents were like, where the fuck is Mac?
Yeah.
High would claim that he hit them with the same pipe as he had their son, drank their blood, and dissolved them in acid baths. He claimed that he only killed them because Donald's body hadn't produced enough blood. So he was going to just kill Donald, but he wanted more blood, so then he killed Amy.
Jesus Christ.
He's so full of fucking shit.
Oh my God, it's so foul.
His actions surrounding their properties, however, indicates greed as a motive rather than bloodlust. Now, flush with the McSwan's cash, High would move into room 404 at the Onslow Court Hotel in Kensington. And this was a residential hotel that housed mostly wealthy older widows.
Ooh.
Yeah, he's getting into his
hunting
producer's
ground.
era. He posed as a liaison officer between people with patents, inventors, and engineering firms, saying, I'm basically an entrepreneur and I help people who create things, and that's how I make my money. And they're okay, just pay your rent, I guess. He meets 2 years after living there. He is running out of the McSwan's cash. He was also a shitty gambler, so he had lost a lot of his money gambling, and he was living in this pretty upscale hotel. So he ran through it within 2 years.
Wow.
He had gotten rid of the basement workshop at 79 Gloucester Road, and he needed a new workspace. So he found a small space outside of London at 2 Leopold Road in Crawley, Sussex. All of his supplies had been moved to his new space, and he felt ready to find his next victim. And that's when he sees an ad placed by Dr. Archibald and Rose Henderson, an older couple seeking to sell their home. He used that ad as an in to become acquainted with them. He even offered them more than the house was worth, saying they just weren't asking enough. The deal, obviously to us, but surprisingly to them, fell through. I didn't have any fucking money. But he was so charming and he'd worked on this so long with them, he was able to keep a friendship with them, weirdly, after the fact.
This fucking guy.
I mean, he must have been extremely charming for this rich older couple to stay friends with someone that didn't buy their house.
Yeah.
What is going on? Old folks are lonely, and this guy was a charmer. He focused mainly on their shared love of music. He was a great pianist. He claimed that he often played piano for them and performed many acts of kindness. For 5 months, the relationship grew, encouraging them to talk about themselves so he could learn about their properties and their habits, get an idea for how much money they have and what they're up to.
It's a long con guy.
Yep. During this friendship cultivation, High rented a storehouse on Leopold Road in Crawley, like I mentioned, and transferred all of the things from the Gloucester basement workroom. After receiving an invite to the Hendersons' home to play the piano at their housewarming party, they did eventually sell their house and buy a new one. John used this opportunity to steal their .38 caliber Webley revolver while he was in their house. Bum, bum, bum.
Oh, no.
December 22nd, 1947, he orders 3 carboys of sulfuric acid, so like a fuck ton of sulfuric acid, and 2 40-gallon drums with no tops.
No tops?
No. I don't think you need the tops.
Wow.
February 9th, because he's just going to put them in there, dissolve them, and then pour it out somewhere.
Yeah, but you'd think you'd want to keep all the gas in there to just really...
You'd think. Maybe he got better ventilation.
Maybe it just has to, like, steam off. Maybe it works faster if it's, like, kind of...
I did not go deeper on that, but you can if you want to.
I'm going to.
Go for it. February of 1948, High spent several days at the Hendersons visiting with them. He would claim that, quote, a dream cycle began again at that time, suggesting that the blood dreams were driving him to murder. In a shocking coincidence, his blood dreams seemed to arrive just as his debts increased.
Debt really gets my blood dreams going, too.
His debt to blood dream correlation is too high to ignore. On February 12th of 1948, he drove Dr. Henderson to the Crowley workspace where he was keeping all of his toys. He lured him there under the pretext of showing him an invention and proposing that the pair could partner in business together.
Oh, my God.
Once there, High shot him in the head with Dr. Henderson's own revolver that he had stolen from their house just a little bit before.
Jesus Christ.
He then went to retrieve a gas mask, which he had also stolen from the Hendersons' place, and then got Mrs. Henderson saying, oh my gosh, come quick, your husband is sick. I brought him over here to show him this thing, and he's sick. We need to help him. She went into the storeroom when High asked her to help him carry some of her husband's things, claiming that, you know, he was sick in this spot. So he's like, carry some of the stuff. We're gonna go get him.
What stuff?
I don't know, some items of
like
his.
Like a medical bag or something?
Oh, no. Okay, so they went to the storeroom, but like Henderson was out of sight. I read this wrong. But some of his items were there because remember that fucking High strips the body to take whatever he wants off of it.
Yeah.
So he was like, oh, weird, like some of his stuff is here, but he must have gone to a friend's house. If he's not feeling well, you know, there's no bed here. So like, help me grab this stuff. We're gonna go get him. So she goes down into the basement dungeon, thinking she's helping him grab some of his things, and then he shoots her.
Jesus Christ!
And kills her, puts her in the other barrel, and leaves them there to dissolve in acid, just like the McSwans. Dr. Henderson's left foot was still intact when he dumped the sludge in the corner of the storehouse's yard.
Ooh!
So he's getting sloppy.
Sludgy sloppy.
He also claimed to drink blood from, quote, each of them. He said, I took my draft of blood. His diary entry for February 12th had the Hendersons' initials next to 2 red crosses in crayon.
Oh, my God. Enough with the crayon. Get a pen. Grow up.
Right. But I think he was already doing this, or maybe even went back to do it when they closed in on him to try and lay the foundation for his defense, knowing he was going to get caught. So the next morning on February 13th, he went to the hotel where the Hendersons had been staying, paid their bill, showed them a letter of authority from Dr. Henderson, and took their possessions and their dog, an Irish setter. He sold their possessions, and he sold their house and kept their dog in his hotel room.
That's creepy.
He sold one of the Mrs. Henderson's handbags to a woman named Mrs. Duran Deacon. She'll come up later. And he would earn close to 10,000 pounds from this hit.
Who is Duran Deacon?
We'll get to her in a minute.
Okay.
He's someone that lives in the hotel. She's one of the older rich ladies.
And he sold a bag to her?
Yep, he sold her a handbag that he had stolen from Mrs. Henderson after he killed them.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Yep. To prevent the discovery of their deaths, much like he did with Mac McSwan, he would forge the handwriting and signatures of his victims and write correspondences to their friends and family. He even wrote out 15 pages in Mrs. Henderson's handwriting to satisfy her brother, who was worried about her absence.
Wow.
He told him that the pair had decided to emigrate to South Africa. We left.
Oh, God.
When her brother, a man named Arnold Berlin, still wanted to go to the police, High told him that Archie would get into trouble because they left because he had performed an illegal abortion. Yep. Though, oh, what a tangled web we weave.
Yeah, really.
Brulin was still skeptical, but he didn't know how to find them and was convinced by High to eventually accept the letter, which had been mailed in Glasgow, as authentic. By the end of the year, in 1948, High would find himself once again out of money and with debts piling up, including his rent at the fancy hotel he was staying at.
Jesus.
So at this hotel, he meets Olive Durand Deacon, who he had sold the handbag to.
That's a really cool name.
I know. I love the name Olive. Bring back that fucking name. It's so cute. Oh my God, you could have another baby and she could be Olive and you could have Olive and June, like the nail polish brand.
Oh my God, I love that nail polish. But
Right?
also, my aunt had that Chinese crested named Olive, and she was so...
That dog was disgusting. That dog was a lot.
I just can't... I can't have the
I get
name
it.
Olive and not think of the old liver-spotted Chinese crested.
I get it. The
Dog.
name is tarnished. I understand.
Yeah. Your next cat, though.
Yep.
Olive and beans.
Olive,
and
beans, and pepperoni. A lot of delicious things to go in a salad,
Oh my
on a
God.
chopped salad.
Yum.
That's not really good. So Olive was a widow and fellow resident at the Onslow Court Hotel, having lived there for the past 6 years to John's 4-year residency. So she'd been there longer than him. John, being a very personable and charming man, had chatted with Olive during dinners and referred to himself as an engineer and inventor. During lunch on February 14th, they had a little romantic, sweet Valentine's Day lunch. Olive told John about an idea she had for artificial fingernails and hoped he could help her improve the idea to make it marketable.
Oh my God.
Love her.
Yeah.
Girl after my own heart.
Maybe she's the Olive and June.
Maybe. Probably not, though, because she's definitely dead. So John invited Olive to his Leopold Road workshop on Friday, February 18th, being like, yeah, come down to my workshop. We'll work on these fingernails. Let's go.
Oh, they'll work on those fingernails all right.
Yep. He shot her with the stolen revolver, stripped her of her valuables, including a Persian lamb coat that she was wearing. She was a fucking badass.
Rich bitch.
Yep. And put her into an acid bath. Later, he returned to the hotel where he enjoyed a 3-course meal.
Oh.
This murder was less thought out. It was much more hurried. He didn't have a very close relationship with Olive and really no way to gain her assets. When John returned to dispose of Olive's remains from the 40-gallon drum, he realized the body had not fully dissolved and some whole pieces remained as he poured the contents in the yard at the back of his shop.
Did her fingernails remain?
We'll see.
Oh my God.
I don't think so, actually, but...
Oh, okay.
2 days later, her friend, Constance Lane, reported her missing. Smart. Good job. Get a friend like Constance.
Wait, question. Mm-hmm. So he dumped her sludge into the corner of the lot or whatever.
Yep, where he had also dumped the Hendersons.
So there are just there's one left foot and just chunks that are just sitting out in the yard.
Yeah, I think it was a fairly large property. I think he just thought that it would go unnoticed. Wow. I'm not a smart man.
And he's just relentless.
Acid is. Yeah.
Like he doesn't stop.
No, he's really gross.
He doesn't take really any precautions.
None. So Constance reports her missing because she hadn't been at her usual seat at dinner or breakfast in the days following her visit on the 18th. So she's killed on the 18th. 2 days later, her good friend Constance is like, whoa, where the fuck is Olive? Mm-hmm. I'm reporting her missing. The chambermaid would discover that her bed had not been slept in for a couple days. As a woman of strict routine, this would be enough to alarm Constance. Don't you know where she is? She told me you were taking her down to your factory.
Oh.
Well, I must do something about that, allegedly, she said. To avoid suspicion, High would accompany her to the police station, having insisted on driving her after Lane insisted on reporting Olive's disappearance to the police. According to him, Olive had failed to show up to their appointment about the fingernails.
Oh.
But looking a little bit closer into High, detectives found his record of theft and fraud, and it's like Olive is this pretty wealthy old lady.
Yeah.
We're looking at you. Mm-hmm. Sergeant Lamburn, a policewoman assigned to take interviews at the hotel, queried the manager who offered an uncomplimentary description of High and a record of his debts to the hotel. So he was behind on paying, and they were not having it. Lamborn thought High had been rather slick in his responses and looked suspicious there as a middle-aged man among all these wealthy older women. So she decided to do a background check. Within an hour, Scotland Yard reported that according to the Criminal Records Office, High had been arrested several times for swindling and had spent 3 separate terms in prison for conspiracy to defraud, forgery, obtaining money by false pretenses, and theft.
Wow.
So he was immediately put under suspicion. He's brought in for questioning. They're like, we think we've got our guy, but we don't know. Where's Olive? We don't know where she is. We don't know what happened to her. Detectives searched his rented workroom. They found tools, trays, wires, a sheet of red cellophane paper, and a wad of cotton near a bench. 3 carboys, which are these like jugs, these like tin jugs that have a little neck coming out of them of acid. 10-gallon glass bottles used for acid, all in a row, packed in straw. One was empty, another half empty. Nearby lay a new syrup pump with a part removed, and from a hook on the door hung a rubber apron stained by chemicals.
Yeah.
There was also a pair of rubber boots and rubber gloves. Inside an army bag was a gas mask.
Creepy.
Yeah, and there is a photo in my notes here. So that's not High. That is an investigator who put on the outfit so they could like get a good idea
Stop
of
it.
what they were working with. So this is
God.
what he wore. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Can you even fucking imagine?
Oh, in a basement?
In a creepy basement dungeon?
Holy shit, this
And
is
there are like some
gross.
pictures of his workshop on the drive that'll be on the blog, but yeah.
This reminds me of the
Every horror movie I've ever fucking seen.
The bad guy in the first season of True Detective.
Oh, yeah.
But it's like this exact outfit, but like minus a shirt.
Yup.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's one of the most horrifying images I've ever fucking seen in my life.
What's the bag on the front that he's wearing?
Probably just like a tool, like for tools and, you know, it's like a purse that clips to the front for all your miscellaneous
Can you imagine being the investigator that they made put that on?
No. I can't imagine that.
Oh my God.
It's fucking awful. Inside a hat box, they found the stolen .38 caliber revolver and could determine that it had recently been fired. On the wall in the basement dungeon workshop, there was a fine spatter of blood stains, later determined to be consistent with someone getting shot while bent over the bench, possibly examining paper. Because like High had brought her there and was like, oh, look at this, and then came up and fucking shot her. Police also found High's briefcase containing papers relating to the Hendersons and the McSwans, all missing. I mean, the Hendersons or the McSwans hadn't been reported missing, but I believe the Hendersons had.
Figured out they were missing.
Yeah. A dry cleaner's receipt for a Persian lamb coat, which police were able to trace back as Olive's. He brought the coat to be dry cleaned so he could sell it.
He's really into dry cleaning.
Yeah, well, he knows the biz. Press coverage would lead a jeweler named Mr. Bull to come forward to state that jewelry had been brought to his shop to be pawned the day after Olive disappeared. This jewelry would be identified by a relative as belonging to Olive Durand Deacon. The person selling it signed his name as J. McLean, but the assistant recognized the man as John High.
Wow.
Yup. So I'm just glad that, like, when this went public, people were coming out of the woodwork to be like, nope, we saw him. Mm-hmm. He did this. Like, let's make quick work of this because he's been doing this shit for way too fucking long.
Yeah.
I'm glad people stepped up and
he was so brazen about it.
So brazen about it. When Detective Inspector Webb approached High and asked him to come along with to the police station, he reportedly replied, "Certainly, I will do anything to help you, as you know."
Ew. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. Police not only found High's case containing that dry cleaner's receipt for Mrs. Durand Deacon's coat, but also papers referring to both the Hendersons and the McSwans. So he had his own little trail. Further investigation of the sludge at the workshop by the pathologist Keith Simpson revealed 3 human gallstones that survived the acid process. When the gallstones were discovered in the sludge in the yard, the forensic team gathered up the surrounding area for processing.
Oh my God.
Girl, this part's crazy. They gathered 475 pounds of grease and earth to cart back to a lab for closer examination.
Grease.
Like
Grease.
sludge grease.
Yeah.
They also brought in a 40-gallon green drum that had the same greasy substance inside.
Oh my God.
So they took the drum from his workshop. At the bottom of this drum, a hat pin was stuck in the grease.
Bitch.
Yep. It gets crazier.
I gotta take a bite of my soup. This is so good.
I know. That soup is delicious.
No, this
What
you're
whole
reading.
description, I know. I knew you'd love this, but like, holy shit, it's horrifying, and I knew you'd live for it. Even although the acid had destroyed a great deal of evidence, not everything had been eliminated. Small bones, dentures, Mr. Henderson's foot, my left foot, a gallbladder, and gallstones were all discovered as the forensic team sifted through 475 pounds of mud and sludge.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
I know.
The cheesecloth.
I can't. I cannot.
Oh my God.
Technicians had to wear rubber gloves and cover their arms in Vaseline to protect themselves from remaining acid.
You should cover yourself in Vaseline regardless of what you're doing.
Yes. They found 28 pounds of human body fat, and Olive was larger than his other victims. God bless her.
Well, she's a rich lady. Those are probably her gallstones, too.
Probably. Tests would determine that the fat was resistant to acid dissolving, so that might explain why there appeared to be so much evidence left of Olive when he apparently was able to pour the McSwans down a drain. I know, I can't believe that this is my job to say this shit. And I did this to myself. I know. It's shocking.
I don't know the emotion that I'm feeling right now.
It's a lot. They found 3 faceted gallstones, tested and confirmed to be human, although they couldn't conclusively determine whose they were. But a lot of Olive evidence was recovered, so it's probably pretty safe to assume they were Olives.
Well, yeah. Gallstones are just all the fat. It's the fatty foods that you've eaten, so you could assume safely that a rich lady in the 40s.
Yep. Living that high life at the residential old folks hotel.
I'll put some pictures of Corey's gallstones up so people know what they look like.
Please do.
I will.
Part of a left foot, not quite eroded, 18 fragments of human bone, upper and lower dentures intact, and they matched these with Olive from her dental records.
God, they found a lot of Olive.
But they got there quick because they got this. This was like within a week. So, I mean,
he had already dumped her out. She was already out of the acid.
She was already out of the acid, but he hadn't done enough research on this method. So I don't think he really understood that like fattier tissue is going to be resistant. So like he followed his regular protocol and he was rushed. And then they just found a lot of evidence. Like Olive kind of blew the lid off the whole fucking operation. Thank God bless her.
Not that there were lids. Mm-hmm. Well, also like she was out decomposing in the raw, fresh air for not as long too.
Mm-hmm. They found the handle of like a red, it says plastic, but I imagine like maybe resin or something. It was from a handbag and it matched the purse that Olive was carrying.
Ew, that's so cute though. She got dressed up.
Yep. Yeah, because she was going to a business meeting to create her fingernail empire and this guy fucking murdered her. I can't.
She's wearing her nice lamb coat.
Justice for all of these people, but like Olive is my fucking girl and I'm so pissed that he killed her. They also found a lipstick container. Questioned by Detective Inspector Albert Webb, High asked him, "Tell me frankly, what are the chances of anybody being released from Broadmoor," which was an institute for the criminally insane? So he's already trying to figure out like, how should I play this?
Yeah.
So that I can get the fuck out of it. The inspector said he could not discuss that sort of thing, so High replied, well, if I told you the truth, you would not believe me. It sounds too fantastic to believe. Apparently thinking that he would be immune from prosecution and shipped right off to Broadmoor, he waved away Webb's cautioning words and said, I will tell you about it. Mrs. Durand Deacon no longer exists. She has disappeared completely and no trace of her can ever be found again. Not true. You fucked this up. I have destroyed her with acid. You will find the sludge which remains at Leopold Road. Every trace has gone.
Oh, God.
He then asked, akin to your first case, how can you prove murder without a body? Making it clear that he thought that police had to have a physical body to prosecute someone for murder.
Jesus.
High then detailed how he had killed Olive Durand Deacon in a dictated statement that took 2.5 hours to write down because he likes to chat.
What a prick.
I know.
Also, his picture, he looks like a trustworthy...
Oh, girl, we'll get to his picture.
Okay.
Because there's a twist at the end that it doesn't like affect the case, but it will leave you dumbfounded.
Okay. I can't wait.
He claimed that he was examining some paper to use for artificial fingernails. Oh, that she was examining some paper. So that's what they're leaning over this paper. He had tricked her being like, hey, I got some product that might work really well for making these artificial fingernails. Come take a look at it. And while she's leaning over that, he shot her in the back of the head. He then went to his car, fetched a penknife and a glass, and used the items to drain blood from the victim so that he could drink it. He put her body into a 45-gallon oil drum with some acid and left it to go into effect. The crime had brought him about 111 pounds and 10 shillings because he didn't have a relationship with her, so he couldn't, sign a bunch of her assets over to himself.
So he just stole what she had on her person and pawned it, and that was it.
Yep. He went further to state that he had killed 5 more people, dissolved them in acid to dispose of them, and actually drank their blood. He had filled a glass full of blood after each one and had consumed it. He had an overwhelming need for it, he claimed, and that was why he had killed them. Again, I don't believe he ever drank their blood.
No.
I think he completely made that shit up.
Mm-hmm.
He then confessed that he had not only killed Durand Deacon, the McSwans, and the Hendersons, but also 3 other people.
And Mac.
Yeah, so Mac is a McSwan.
Oh,
he's their son.
Yeah, okay.
Yep. A young man called Max, not Mac, a girl from Eastbourne, a woman from Hammersmith, and there's actually no evidence that the other 3 people ever existed, nor that they were murdered. He just claimed that he had killed 3 other people, and it's kind of suspected that he invented those 3 other people to try and bolster his insanity defense. Be like, I can't be stopped. Because if the only deaths that we can confirm are clearly motivated by money, you better throw some other ones in there that can't be traced to try and...
Because it was just a random killing because I'm so bloodthirsty.
I'm so bloodthirsty.
I am so bloodthirsty.
I am so fucking bloodthirsty.
Low, bitch.
Low, bitch. He was dating this young woman named Barbara Stevens, and she was the daughter of a former landlord that he had lived with. And I guess when he lived there, she was a teenager and we had fallen in love with him and wanted to marry him. And he was like, you're a kid. And then now they're dating later. So, okay, guy, he's gross. She visited him in prison, expecting to find a broken man falsely accused. Instead, she saw a man who seemed to be reveling in the attention and who admitted to everything. As she read the accounts in the papers, she realized that he had killed all of these people while they were together.
Oh my God.
And that all of them had been his friends. She asked him why he hadn't killed her, and he was astonished by the question. You don't have any money, bitch.
You don't have any blood.
I don't have blood. He assured her that he'd never even entertained such an idea. It did not reassure her, however, to realize that he had admitted his love for her the same week he had killed Mac, his friend. They had spent a wonderful day together only 2 days after he had disposed of Mac's parents.
Oh my God.
And they had talked about marriage while he killed the Hendersons, even selling her a dress from Mrs. Henderson's closet.
Oh my God.
And the day after Olive Durand Deacon died, they had a very pleasant tea together.
So
she was like,
so
yikes.
Psychotic.
So they broke up.
God. Yeah.
They broke up.
They're no longer together. That was a conscious uncoupling.
Yeah. So July 18th, 1949, 4,000 people crowded into the small town of Fleurs, hoping to get a seat in the court where fucking High was being tried. Mm-hmm. Presided over by Justice Humphreys. As High didn't have any money for a defense lawyer, the News of the World newspaper made a deal with him, paying his counsel for exclusive interviews. This sounds
he loved that.
great. Yep. High would not plead guilty based on insanity and said that his mental illness would have affected his ability to appreciate the morality of his actions. In addition to being a blood-drinking vampire, High would also claim that he drank his own urine, a habit he claimed that started when he was a teenager. There's no evidence that he ever drank urine, except for one time when he had to prove to a doctor that he could. So they were like, prove it. And he was like, fine.
Choke some down.
Choked some down. There's also no evidence that he ever drank any fucking blood. So, like, you know. In addition to the insanity defense, High's main defense seemed to be based around his misunderstanding of, like I mentioned earlier, corpus delicti, which is Latin for body of the crime.
There we go.
The principle that a crime must be proved to have occurred before a person can be convicted of committing that crime. So it's like the no body, no crime defense, essentially.
Yeah.
During the investigation, it became apparent that High was using the acid to destroy victims' bodies because he misunderstood the term corpus delicti, thinking that if victims' bodies could not be, like, found or determined, then a murder conviction couldn't be possible at all. Not true. Just means it takes more to get that. So he was thinking, no body, no crime. What it actually means that there has to be enough evidence that there was a crime to convict.
Yeah.
It's really the same shit. It's the same thing like with the guy in Scranton where they could determine he was dead because of all the blood that was in the car.
Yeah.
It's the same exact application.
Or like, what is it? If like you find a finger, it's not enough. If you find a hand, it's not enough. But if you find like both legs,
a finger, a hand, a tooth, some hair, like look at your gal who flew for Pan Am.
Hella.
So, and similarly to her case, in this case, they did have bodies. They were just desecrated. They were in small amounts. But, like, there was substantial forensic evidence.
Oh, also, yesterday I watched the new Lacey Peterson Netflix. And it's kind of the same, kind of the similar. Yeah.
It's good.
It's really good.
It's really good. I appreciated
how
the personal
guilty he is.
Yeah. But, like, the friends and family that were interviewed, it's very moving. I highly recommend. It's 3 episodes. It's really good.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he thought that all of this was not sufficient for him to be convicted for the murders, but like it soups was, and spoiler alert, he was found guilty. So he was in a confident mood and even made light banter throughout the criminal proceedings, thinking, no body, no crime, you can't do shit to me.
Oh, what a fucking asshole.
And an idiot.
Yeah.
Throughout the trial, High toyed with a crossword puzzle, making no move to speak on his own behalf and appearing to pay little attention. He's pulling a Stanley Hudson. The prosecution urged the jury to reject the defense of insanity because he had acted with malice and forethought. They called 33 witnesses to prove the rationale of his actions and the premeditation of murder for financial gain. Most of the psychologists agreed that although High suffered from mental health issues, he was not insane and had been perfectly aware of his murderous actions that had involved meticulous planning.
Yeah.
Not to mention everything he did after the fact to siphon money out of the estates of the people that he killed. Like,
yeah,
get over yourself.
Yeah.
The defense did little to rebut the prosecution, only cross-examining 4 of the witnesses. They were instead relying heavily on the insanity defense. The defense wanted to show High's aberrant behavior. He tried to show that High was in a good mood at a restaurant following the murder, because now they have all this. Because now the girlfriend, now ex-girlfriend, is like, I'll tell you everything. Oh my God, this guy's a fucking creep. He entered High's confessions into evidence, and he questioned Inspector Mann about the penknife in High's car with the implication that it had been used to take blood from Mrs. Durand Deacon, which, like, if we're assuming that that was true, then you would have had to think ahead to make sure you had the materials to cut her throat and drink her blood. Like, all of this is premeditated.
Yeah.
The defense called only one witness to attest to High's mental state. some psychiatric professional who opined that he had developed a paranoid personality to escape his parents' suffocating upbringing, and as a result, High had an acute sense of omnipotence and believed he was above the law. He was, in effect, an egocentric paranoiac who, although aware that killing people was against the law, still thought that it was part of fulfilling his destiny. This expert witness, Dr. Henry Yellowlees, claimed that Hay had a paranoid constitution, said, quote, "The absolute callous, cheerful, bland, and almost friendly indifference of the accused to the crimes which he freely admits having committed is unique in my experience." Under pressure, Yellowlees admitted that he had not seen High each time he visited the prison. So he just got to meet him to give him this diagnosis.
Oh.
All in all, he had spent a total of about 2 hours with him, forming his conclusions.
Okay. And we already know that High is a
charismatic dude.
Yeah.
He admitted that he had no objective evidence to corroborate anything that High had told him. Since he could not satisfy himself that High's condition prevented him from appreciating right from wrong, his testimony was limited to describing the illness. The jury took only 15 minutes to find him guilty.
Oh.
The judge asked High if he had anything to say for himself, and High cocked his head and said, "Nothing at all."
He said the words "nothing at all."
Nothing at all.
Wow.
With that, he was sentenced to death by hanging.
Oh, wow.
He wrote letters to his parents and to Barbara, hoping to be reunited in heaven. He told Barbara that he believed in reincarnation and that since his mission wasn't finished yet, he would be back.
Ish.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Get out of here.
Your little tin mask. Get out of here.
It was reported that High in the condemned cell at Wandsworth Prison asked one of his jailers, Jack Morwood, whether it would be possible to have a trial run of his hanging so everything would run smoothly.
What the fuck? What does that even look like?
The request did not go further, so we don't know. But he was, I know.
Oh my God.
I can't. He was led to the gallows by Chief Executioner Albert Pierrepoint on August 6th, 1949. He made friends. John High made friends wherever he went. The police liked him. The chaplain who knelt to pray with him in his cell minutes before his execution spoke affectionately about him.
Oh my God.
His parents still loved him and firmly believed that God would forgive him. Even the judge at his trial, Justice Humphreys Butterfield, must have had a certain curiosity for the man sitting in the dock, spending most of the time doing crosswords. Because a few years later, Judge Humphreys, in his retirement, decided to become a resident himself in the very same hotel as the late Mr. John High and Olive, his last victim.
Oh my God.
And in a final gross turn of events that was arranged by John High, he had agreed to model for a death mask being made by Madame Tussauds Waxworks.
Shut the fuck up.
Nope.
Oh.
If you scroll down in my notes, you'll see his face.
This man knows no. Oh no.
No, I know.
Ew.
I know. It's so gross.
His little sailor stash.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate mustache. It was not a good choice, and especially because he was doing all of this literally during World War II. Sir, either go full thing or nothing. You can't. The in-between it's too risky.
Yeah.
Not the move.
And you live in Europe.
Yeah.
My dude.
He left his clothes to Madame Tussauds with the stipulation that his waxwork was always kept spotless, with trousers neatly creased, shirt cuffs showing, and hair parted.
Hate this man.
I know!
Oh my God.
I literally couldn't fucking believe it. I was like, this is not how this is ending. But alas.
Unbelievable.
Yep, so that's my case. Now you understand why I wanted to do this episode so badly, because this fucking guy,
I love it,
is so scary.
I love your case.
He's so scary. I actually think maybe Madame Tussauds kind of did him dirty with that mustache on purpose, because if you look at other photos of him, he has a full mustache, and they were like, well, fuck this guy. We're gonna give him the problematic mustache.
Oh my God, totally.
Yup. So anyway,
Jesus.
That's my case.
Jesus.
Yeah. Thank you so much, everyone.
God. I gotta go reheat my soup now.
Yeah, because you got too drawn in to properly keep up.
Oh,
but yeah,
my God.
I know this was a long case, but I had to cover everything.
You covered everything.
Everything.
When I joked, asked if the nails survived, and you're like, well, let me consult this exhaustive list of what survived.
The nails didn't survive, but Olive's teeth and gallstones did. God bless
And
her.
her hairpin, her little purse
and I
handle.
will wear my false nails proudly in her honor.
God bless. This
Love you all.
was a wild one. Thank you
What a
so much.
doozy.
Thank you so much for listening and watching, and we'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to Wine and Crime. Our cover art is by Danielle Sylvan. Music by Phil Young and Corey Wendell. Editing by Jonathan Camp. Our production manager is Andrea Gardner. For photos and sources, check out our blog at wineandcrimepodcast.com. You can follow us on all the socials at Wine and Crime Pod. If you have questions, answers, or recommendations to share, email us at wineandcrimepodcast@gmail.com. Episodes are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. If you like the show, please rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts. It is the best way to spread the word. If you'd like to show your support and get access to all sorts of wine-fueled bonus content, visit our Patreon page. Cheers!
Did you know a 2018 study showed half of prenatal vitamins tested had unacceptable levels of heavy metals? I'm Kat, mother of 3 and founder of Ritual. When I was 4 months pregnant, I couldn't find a prenatal I could trust, so I created my own. Ours is made traceable, third-party tested for heavy metals, and recently earned the Purity Award from the Clean Label Project. But don't just take my word for it. Get 25% off at ritual.com/prenatal.